How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
is the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? Oh, I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get used by you. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to be out you.
Won't anybody help us? What are we running for? When there's nowhere we can run to anymore. We can't afford to be innocent. Stand up and face the enemy. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible. And with the power of conviction, there is no sacrifice. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible.
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent 200.
Literally.
So
not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because
Yeah.
I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is
problem.
that what you call reporters?
Go
and live
under, if
streaming?
you're going to do it,
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah,
But
please.
Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum braucht er was zum Essen, bitte sehr. Es macht ihn ein Geschwätz nicht satt, das schafft kein Essen her. Rum links, zwei, drei, rum links, zwei, drei, wo der Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeit einheimst, weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist. Und weil der Mensch ein Mensch ist, drum hat der Stiefel im Gesicht nicht gern. Er will unter sich keinen Sklaven sehen und über sich keinen Herrn. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, wo dein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeiter einheimst, weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist. Und weil der Prolet ein Prolet ist, drum wird ihn kein anderer befreien. Es kann die Befreiung der Arbeiter nur das Werk der Arbeiter sein. Drum links, zwei, drei, drum links, zwei, drei, und ein Platz genossen ist, weil ich heim in die Arbeiter einheimst und weil du auch ein Arbeiter bist.
Zdravstvuyte, comrades. Welcome to Socialism Saturday. Socialism Saturday is when we watch the real far left, the furthest of the far left, the most dystopian of the dystopian. We do not watch Democrats or liberals on Socialism Saturday because socialists and communists are not Democrats and liberals. We don't even watch progressives on Socialism Saturday because as much as Republicans might like to cry about it, progressives and communists are not the same thing. We even very rarely watch the Democratic Socialists of America on Socialism Saturday because for the revolutionary socialists and communists that we watch, the Democratic Socialists of America are too far right and they are considered to be traitors to the cause. On Socialism Saturday, we watch real radical revolutionary socialists in America. We watch the people who are the origin of literally every crazy idea that we have to deal with, from critical race theory in schools to gender ideology and queering your kids, drag queen story hour, climate change, abolish the police, the encampments and protests, the encampments and the pro-Palestine protests, all of the crazy people that we see protesting outside of ICE that we have been monitoring all week. Every crazy idea that we have to deal with in this country today comes from one place, and that is the real radical revolutionary far left in America. And so there, even though there is absolutely protest coverage going on today, and we will do the protest coverage, okay, we'll do the protest coverage later. We will be monitoring the protests in Chicago and Portland in real time, but we are not preempting Socialism Saturday for protest coverage. We are going to actually be listening to real socialists and communists tonight. I'd like to see a 1 in the chat if you are new to Socialism Saturday. Is this your first time ever coming to Socialism Saturday with us? Because if you've just joined my channel recently for protest coverage or something like that, you are in for a hell of a ride if this is your first Socialism Saturday. We've got a great agenda on the docket. We only look at look at all of those ones in the chat. Look at all of these ones, all these Socialism Saturday newbies. Zdravstvuyte, comrades. Welcome to the channel. This is so exciting. Oh, holy shit. You guys picked a great Socialism Saturday for your first one because I'm going to introduce you tonight to not one, but 2 different radical revolutionary socialist groups in America. We're actually going to be watching 2 different videos tonight. They're relatively short. We'll be monitoring the protest situation in real time as well. So if you're just here for protest coverage, we'll do that too. But listen, guys, The far left doesn't stop organizing just because they're engaging in nonsense outside of ICE facilities. The far left is organizing literally every single day. And what we're going to be watching tonight are 2 videos that have been posted by revolutionary communist groups in the last week so that you can hear directly from them what they think and what they believe. You never have to take my word for anything on Socialism Saturdays, because I will show you the real far left and I will show it to you in real time. Let me show you what we're watching tonight. We have 2 videos that are on the docket for tonight. Let me just get my whole setup here. Hang on. There we go. That's better. We have 2 videos that we're going to be watching tonight. The first video we're going to be watching is from the Revolutionary Communists of America. This is directly on the Revolutionary Communists of America YouTube page. And they posted a video about recruiting on college campuses. And so the Revolutionary Communists of America are one of those groups that, if anyone have any of you ever seen the Karl Marx sticker where it's Karl Marx pointing at you and it says, "Are you a communist?" and it has a QR code on it? Has anyone in the chat, if you've seen the sticker I'm describing, it's Karl Marx pointing at you. It says, "Are you a communist?" and it has a QR code on it. Has anyone ever seen that sticker? Because it's on college campuses all the time. This sticker is posted about over Twitter. Yeah, we got a couple people in the chat who know exactly the sticker I'm talking about, because the Revolutionary Communists of America post that sticker over college campuses all the time. And it's a super simple campaign for them. They've been doing it for a couple of years. And basically, you scan the QR code, you fill out a form, and that's how the Revolutionary Communists of America get a hold of you and bring them in and bring you into their whole recruiting circle. And in this presentation, which is only about 20 minutes long, what it says is 2,500 prospective new members have signed up across the country since the semester began. 2,500 new communists, specifically within the Revolutionary Communists of America, in the last month since the semester began. And so we're going to listen to their recruiting efforts. Now, the Revolutionary Communists of America are just one communist group in America. There are many, many, many communist groups, okay? They don't all play together nicely. They are not all the same. And so I want people to know that. The Revolutionary Communists of America are actually rather insular. They're organized in basically every U.S. state. They have at least 30 organized U.S. presence. They have a presence in every state. Like, they have members in every state, but they have an organized group in 30 cities around the country. They focus specifically on college campuses. You might see their stuff out if you go to like a pride parade or like, an anarchist book fair, because usually they have posters and stuff. I actually got one of their posters at a queer bookstore in New York when I was undercover with the with Antifa in New York a couple weeks ago. They actually had the Revolutionary Communists of America poster hanging up in the bookstore, and I stole one. I'm not afraid to say it. I stole one from the queer bookstore because I wanted it. And so this is actually an extremely active communist group. Now, what's unique about the Revolutionary Communists of America is they do not embrace queer Marxism. So I've actually had the leaders of the RCA on my channel before. You guys can look up that interview. They don't think that queer Marxism, which is all the LGBTQ stuff, they don't think that's real Marxism, and they don't actually allow it within their kind of like organizing community. Now, that's not to say there aren't queer people in the RCA. There absolutely are queer people within the RCA, but they're actually pretty unique in this regard, in that they explicitly say that queer Marxism is not real Marxism to them. So it's kind of like one of the quirks of this particular group. You will also see the Revolutionary Communists of America show up and doing these big protests in Seattle. They're really overt about it too. They wave giant communist hammer and sickle flags. They hand out newspapers to people about the communist uprising. Like, they are really aggressive in their recruiting strategy. So this is a very visible group. You might see them in your cities. And today we're going to listen to their organizing effort on college campuses. That's video number 1. Video number 2 is from another one of our favorite communist groups, but they are completely separate from the Revolutionary Communists of America. This is the Denver Communists. The Denver communists are revolutionary communists. They are part of something called the Firebrand Collective. The Denver communists have the coolest t-shirts of any communist group. I saw them in person when I was undercover at the Socialism 2023 conference. They have absolutely the best t-shirts, and they have really good merch. And I can respect a good merch game. But the Denver communists are one of our favorite groups to watch on this channel because they speak in rather plain spoken English, and they say the quiet part out loud all the time. All the time. And so we actually love watching the Denver Communists. It's a great organization for newbies to watch who are just getting to understand the radical revolutionary far left, because it's not going to be like flowery academic language. You guys are actually going to be able to understand what they're saying. And so they released a video, and both of the videos we're going to watch today, I think they've both been released in the last day. Yeah, both of the videos we're going to watch are brand new. The Denver Communists released a video, Who on Earth Would Celebrate the Assassination of Charlie Kirk? So that's going to be an interesting perspective. You're going to hear directly from the Denver communists what they think about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. You're going to hear directly from the Revolutionary Communists of America exactly how they are recruiting on college campuses right now and what their numbers look like. I don't make up any of this information, guys. I am just literally showing you the primary source videos that comes directly from the radical revolutionary far left, and we're going to listen to them, and we're going to learn what they're doing, and we're going to learn what they're talking about. And this is how we study socialism and communism on this channel. The way that my content around the far left is different than basically every other person on the internet is I don't talk about the philosophy from 50, 100, 200 years ago. I call that the dead philosophers. I don't talk about Marx and Engels and Hegel and Marcuse and all these and the Frankfurt School and all this stuff. And it's not that I don't think that stuff is important. I do think it's important. It's just very different than what I do. And there are so many people already doing that. You don't need me to do that. What we do instead is we just look at what real socialists and communists are saying right now. Because if you only look at the philosophy, that doesn't necessarily translate into what they're doing right now. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But we always have to be hinged into reality. How are they organizing? What is their strategy? What are their priorities? What are they talking about? What tactics are they implementing? What do they say to each other when they think people like us aren't listening? Guys, these are not high-viewed videos. This video from the RCA has less than 2,000 views. This video from the Denver Communists has less than 200 views. These are not videos they're making for people like us. These are videos that they're making for other leftists to communicate with other leftists. And so on Socialism Saturday, we take a little bit of time out to hear directly from them what they're doing. Now, I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. I am going to put the live protest coverage above my head, so we're going to be able to monitor the live protest coverage in real time. But I really don't want to preempt our research because primarily, guys, apart from the protest coverage that I know many of you found me for, and I appreciate you all being here, the primary purpose of this channel is to research and study the far left in America and to create an open-air classroom where I am trying to download as much information in my head as possible to you, because I really truly believe that the only way that we defeat the far left in America is by understanding our enemy. And not just me, everyone understanding our enemy. Because conservative media is not reporting on this information. Right-leaning media is not reporting on this information. And so the only way we're going to get this information out is if we download as much of it into people like you as possible. And then you guys go out and you tell your friends and you tell your family and we spread the word that way. We need a grassroots counter-revolutionary effort in this country. And the only way that we do that is by educating ourselves and educating other people about what is actually going on, separate from the conservative media cycle where they're only going to tell you stuff that supports their narrative. Okay? So that's what we're doing here today, guys. If you're here for that, please mount the like button for me if you would be so kind. I have a couple quick orders of business, and then we're going to do the rules video, and then we're going to jump right into it. So order of business number one, if you are new to my work and you have not yet subscribed to my Substack, please go ahead and do that now. My Substack is free to subscribe to. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. I'll put the link in the chat. This is where I post all my breakdowns of the far left, my clips of the far left. If you're new to my work, just go ahead and click on this thing that says new to my work. and you will get access to the information you need to get like caught up to speed, my streaming schedule, and you'll also find the links to the 3 classes that I have. If you are brand new to my work and you want a crash course in the language of the far left, what you need to do is go over, take this re-education class, an anti-communist introduction to the far left. That's about 90 minutes. That will give you an overview of the language. If you're brand new and you haven't done that yet, you can hang out here too. We'll teach you here, but this is more structured learning thing. If you go through that and you're like, oh my God, I want more, you can take the 4-hour How to Speak Socialist Masterclass. And if you really want to get into the most dystopian stuff, take the Introduction to Queer Marxism. That's the craziest stuff on the far left. But don't do that one until you've done the other 2. You got to get the foundation before you can get the advanced creepy stuff, okay? And so those are where you should start. All of this stuff is free. You don't have to pay for any of it. Please pass it around. Share it with as many people as possible. And if you appreciate the work I do, please consider signing up as a supporter. I am 100% funded by people like you. I take no political money. I am not part of any political tribe. I will never sell you a political narrative. I am 100% funded by people who believe in this work and just want access to this information. And so if you sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year, you allow me to teach this stuff to as many people as possible. And I really do appreciate it. Another quick announcement. I told you it was coming, guys. The Halloween collection is officially here in the Red Menace Supply Company. Now, the Red Menace Supply Company, which you can get to by going to redmenacesupply.com, this is my merchandise store. My merchandise purchases fund the work I do, and I have a ton of fun with my merchandise where I make really cool anti-communist merchandise. And for the Halloween collection, this is like my favorite collection to do in the store because I am addicted to horror movies. I love horror movies. I was raised on horror movies. I watch almost no movies that are not horror movies. And so every year I do a Halloween collection in the store that is based entirely on like classic horror movie posters. But I always give them like an anti-communist theme. So this year we've got 4 designs. All of these designs are 25% off until next week. So if you want to get them now. The first one we have is the collectivism design, which is I'm actually wearing the collectivism design in red, but I'm showing you the black one here. This is a really cool design. We had this one last year. Let me show you the red one because the red one is awesome. This is the one that I'm actually wearing. I love it. The tone on tone looks so fucking cool. So that is the first design we have. The next design was a favorite from last year. I didn't expect it to be the favorite from last year, but it was. We've got the Marxist Utopia of the Dead. If you're a fan of like zombie movies, there you go. We've got that design. That comes in a couple different colors. You can see you can get it on different merch. Then we have 2 new designs, and this one, honestly, I didn't expect this one to come out so good. I wanted to do like a 70s color block, like Brave New World style thing, but around communism. So we've got the communism, the boots never lift design. That's in the store. And actually, I put this one in red too. Look at the red in this one. This fucking shirt in red looks awesome. Oh my God. Why isn't it coming up? Oh my God. My own website isn't working. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Look at this in red. Come on. I'm going to be buying I make my merch just basically for myself, honestly. I make my merch because I want to wear all this, and then I sell it to you guys too. The last one, which might be the most controversial one, Village of the Damned is one of my favorite movies. I don't know if we have any Village of the Damned in the house, people who love that movie, but check that out. I did Village of the Damned, but with just a little twist. Just a slight little twist to make a comment on queer indoctrination in schools. And so that's available in the store too, guys. That is the Halloween collection from the Red Menace Supply Company. You can get it on t-shirts, tank tops, pint glasses, and you can get a sticker pack. If you want it on any other merch, just let me know and I will see what I can do. I usually can add it to other stuff, but I do kind of like base level merch if I don't get requests. The t-shirts have different colors to them, so if you don't like black, I like everything in black, but there are some different colors, so you can find those there. And again, all purchases do go to support the work I'm doing. Lots of other cool merch in the store as well, including the McCarthy is Right collection, the limited edition coffee collection to stick it to the quartering. We got all sorts of great designs, and you can pick up that stuff. And all purchases support the work I'm doing, and I really appreciate it. All right, we have one final order of business before we get into the videos. Socialism Saturday is a little bit of a unique stream because you guys have walked into an open air classroom, okay? You are in a classroom right now, and we have rules in the classroom. And the reason we have rules is not because I'm trying to be a bitch on the internet. The reason that we have rules for Socialism Saturday is we are trying to do research and we are trying to teach. And so I have a helpful introductory video that will teach you the rules for Socialism Saturday. And I very nicely ask that everyone just be respectful. If you don't want to follow the rules, you don't have to stay here. You can just keep your mouth shut or whatever. But we are trying to learn here. We are trying to create a productive environment. And so we need everyone to work together. So please pay attention for the rules video coming now. All right. For anyone that's new, we have some rules. Time. This is not to be what you want it to be. This is to engage with reality. We need to listen, we need to actively listen, and we need to understand the left better than they understand themselves. That is the purpose of this exercise, okay? As part of that, I do ask that people refrain from debunking. You do not have a single debunk in your arsenal about the left is stupid because of reasons X, Y, B, and Z, or the left is her hypocrites for reasons X, Y, B, and Z. You don't have a single debunk that we haven't heard before, okay? And every time you put energy into debunking, that is energy that you're not putting into listening. So if I see you debunking, I'm going to tell you to stop, because you need to put that energy into listening instead. Lastly, break the rules of my chat or disrespect me in any way, and I'll just kick you out, and that's the way it is. All right. Well, we are getting ready for Socialism Saturday, guys. I will be also getting protest coverage above me when I get a chance to do that. But we are starting today with a video from the Revolutionary Communists of America. And they are going to tell us how they have been recruiting on college campuses. Again, the purpose of Socialism Saturday is for us to listen to the real far left, to learn what they're doing, learn how they talk, learn their language, stuff like that. If you have questions, please let me know in the chat. Actually, let me go through some super chats real quick. Thank you guys for the super chats. Metaglide says, open your ears and take notes. Karlyn knows all. Well, I don't know all. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot. Thank you, Metaglide. Sophia says, I did a deep dive into your content last night. All I can say is thanks for putting this stuff out. I'm a changed man. I'll be sharing your content. Well, I don't know about the changed man part. I mean, that might be a little bit much, but you certainly do see things differently once you start looking at this content, don't you? And then Jerkstore CEO says, Karlyn, thanks for all your efforts. What's the best way to maximize transmitting capitalist units to you while cutting out cucks like the current platform as much as possible? Guys, the best way to support my work is over on the Substack. Again, that is Karlyn, Karlyn.substack.com. And you can sign sign up there for $8 a month, $80 a year. If you would like to send me a power chat, power chat is also available. You can find the link in the description below. I will make sure I have my power chat open if you want to send it that way. It won't show up on the screen, but I will be able to see it. So I will have the power chat open. And so those are probably the best ways that you can support the work I'm doing. If you don't want to go through YouTube, which I totally understand, but whatever way is best for you is fine with me, and I really appreciate it. All right. Well, yeah, I should, and I will be accepting it for my nonprofit soon. So hold tight on that. Anyway, let's get into our first. They just tear gassed Portland. I see. They did just tear gas Portland. Okay, I will be pulling riot coverage up here so we'll be able to see it. But again, we do really want to focus on the content, guys, because we want to make sure that we are listening to the real far left and we know what's coming next. Catherine, how I have missed you. Work has been crazy. This is a small amount to say thank you for all you do to save our nation. Thank you, Catherine. I really do appreciate it. All right. Let's get into it, guys. Let's hear how the Revolutionary Communists of America are recruiting on college campuses. And if you have questions, let us know in the chat. We'll do our best to help.
The Revolutionary Communists of America are hosting Marxist schools in Los Angeles on October 11th and 12th, Chicago on October 25th and 26th, and New York City on November 8th.
I want to go. Do you guys remember the Revolutionary Communists of America told me that I was allowed to go to Marxist school as long as I wasn't disruptive? Finally, I want to go to Marxist school.
Schools of Communism will be weekend-long educational deep dives to discuss the fundamentals of Marxist philosophy, revolutionary history, and strategy. Buy your tickets now at the link in the description to secure your spot.
I'm going to go. I'm going to Marxist school. It's over.
The Wall Street Journal and a local Dallas paper just wrote articles about the Revolutionary Communists of America. They see the rising popularity of socialism and communism and are struggling to understand why 1 out of every 3 people that are under 30 have a favorable view of communism in the United States. To us, it's no wonder that people are sick of capitalism and want a revolution. Our generation has never known peace. We saw the 2008 crisis shatter the stability of the working class, and we've been living in the broken pieces ever since. We now pay more for housing and insurance than millennials, just 1 generation older than us, and we make less than them. College graduates are now more unemployed than the national average. Even when we're putting our heads down and grinding it out, we're still only just getting by. To top it all off, we have grown up watching the imperialist massacres carried out by our ruling class. From Iraq and
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get the protest coverage set up, and I accidentally turned off the wrong screen. My bad. Here you go.
Funded by our tax dollars. And it's not just the youth that are disillusioned with the system. Only 54% of Americans have a positive view of capitalism. 70% said that the American dream no longer holds true or never did. Only 25% think that they have a good chance of improving their standard of living. And that's the lowest figure that's been recorded. The life promised to the working class of this country does not exist. And there is a growing layer in the US that can no longer just sit by and be passive observers of capitalist decline. But the 2 political parties in America have discredited themselves. They are correctly seen as corrupt, cynical tools of the billionaires.
So I just want you to notice what he just said. The 2 political parties in America are corrupt. These are communists. Communists do not like Democrats, okay? Communists don't support Democrats. Communists don't vote for Democrats. And you really have to understand this. We have got to stop calling Democrats communists because they're 2 completely different things. Listen again.
In the US that can no longer just sit by and be passive observers of capitalist decline. But the 2 political parties in America have discredited themselves. They are correctly seen as corrupt, cynical tools of the billionaires. Trump, who rode the vote of disillusioned workers and youth, has suffered a 54-point negative swing with Gen Z voters between February and July of 2025, with his youth disapproval peaking at 72%. And despite what the even more discredited Democratic Party says, we are not in a period of fascist takeover. With his reactionary theatrics, Donald Trump is trying to distract the working class from economic pain that will only get worse. In reality, we're entering a period of class struggle. The revolutionary movements in Indonesia and Nepal, the Block Everything protests in France and Italy, will be coming to the United States sooner or later, and we are preparing for that.
Okay, I need to explain this about the Revolutionary Communists of America. 2 years ago, the group that the Revolutionary Communists of America came out of has been around for a long time. It used to be called the International Marxist Tendency. It is a worldwide international group. There is a revolutionary communist group in Canada. We actually have watched them relatively recently, earlier this week. There's revolutionary communist groups in the UK, in Australia, in Italy, basically all over the place. So this is the specific American version of this group, but there are groups within this Revolutionary Communist International, is what it's called now, that exist all over the world. Okay. 2 years ago, the Revolutionary Communists of America decided to change their name and form an official political party. Now, they didn't do this because they were trying to run for elections and win elections. They don't give a flying flip about running for elections and winning elections. They don't care. Okay. They're forming a political party because they want to give people something to join, because the Revolutionary Communists of America really do believe that we are in late stage capitalism, that capitalism is about to implode, that there's about to be a revolution of the proletariat. And basically, they're trying to get ready for when the revolution actually happens. They want to have their political party all formed. They want to have all their organization done. They want to have all their processes in place. They want as many people educated in their philosophy as possible, because they're basically saying, we think the new Bolshevik revolution is going to spark off in America at any time, and we want to be ready to go when it sparks off. And that's what he's saying here. He's saying we wanted to be prepared. That means prepared for the revolution.
And Nepal, the Block Everything protests in France and Italy will be coming to the United States sooner or later, and we are preparing for that. The youth are looking past the Democrats and Republicans and now see class struggle as the only way out.
People are asking about funding in the chat. I will tell you explicitly how the Revolutionary Communists of America are funded. They are not funded by George Soros. They are not funded by USAID. They are not funded by the CCP. The Revolutionary Communists of America are funded primarily in three different ways. They are funded by voluntary donations. So people donate money to them because they believe in the cause. They are funded by membership dues. The Revolutionary Communists of America charge 1 day's wages per month in dues. So whatever your salary is, they say, give us 1 day's wages a month in dues, and in return, we will send you newspapers, we will send you stickers, we will send you stuff you can hand out. So members not only get voting rights within the Revolutionary Communists of America, they also get stuff they can hand out. The other thing the Revolutionary Communists of America does, and you saw this at the beginning of the video, is they do these things called Marxist School, where basically they hold events all over the country where people pay hundreds of dollars to go and learn about Marxism for the weekend. And they've got 3 of those coming up. So people are buying admission tickets, and that's part of how they fund what they're doing as well. So that is how they're funded, guys. They are self-funded. There is no head of the snake that you can cut off for the Revolutionary Communists of America in particular, because they're very well funded. This is an organization that's been around for a long time. They have a lot of members. They have a lot of people paying monthly membership dues. They have a lot of people that are very involved with the organization. They have people that are making additional donations on top of the membership dues, and it is all voluntary, and there's no one big money backer. Does everyone understand? Cool.
A revolution, and we're building the party that will ensure that happens. Today, you're going to hear from comrades that are building at college campuses all over the country, not only training themselves, but going out and recruiting people that feel the same way that they do about the state of the world. In the last few weeks, in more than 50 campuses across the country, we have had over 2,500 people sign up to potentially join the Revolutionary Communists of America.
Okay, we need to really just go back. Look at this. They have a whole fucking map here. Boston, Providence, Rhode Island, New Haven, Connecticut, New York City, almost 400 people in New York City, Philadelphia, over 200 people in Philadelphia, Baltimore, Richmond, Virginia, Durham, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Louisville, Kentucky, Memphis, Tennessee, St. Louis, Missouri, New Orleans, Austin, Texas, Houston, Texas, Dallas, almost 300 people in Dallas, guys. Albuquerque, New Mexico, Tucson, Arizona, Phoenix has over 100 new people. San Diego, California, Los Angeles, 100 people. San Diego, actually not that many in San Diego. San Francisco, Boise, Idaho. Boise, that's extremely red. Seattle has almost 200 new signups. Bellevue, Washington, Denver, Colorado, Columbia, Missouri, Ames, Iowa. Minneapolis has over 100. Iowa City, Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago has over 200 people. Detroit, Portland, Maine. These are all of the signups that the Revolutionary Communists of America have gotten on college campuses in the last month. Okay? Because do you know how they do this? They go onto college campuses and they do stickering campaigns with those stickers of Karl Marx pointing at you saying, "Are you a communist?" They hand out their newspapers on public transportation and things like that. So this is how, and this organization has been growing very fast for years. This organization has been rapidly expanding in size for years, and they're literally all over the country. Do you guys get this? Listen again.
People that feel the same way that they do about the state of the world. In the last few weeks, in more than 50 campuses across the country, we have had over 2,500 people sign up to potentially join the Revolutionary Communists of America. But this is just the beginning. Now comes the real task, to recruit these comrades into the ranks of the party and begin their consolidation in the ideas of Marxism and the methods of Bolshevism. These young people had never been given the opportunity to change the world until...
So what they're saying is how they recruit. Oh, did you guys send a super chat or something? Hang on. Well, you have one super chat, Trendlin, I didn't see you. I want to add, groups like the RCA detest Stalinism and Maoism, China's two capitals. That's a great point, average person. And people should know this. These are Bolsheviks. They reject Stalin. They reject Mao. They would never take money from the CCP, like on principle. They think they're too capitalist and it would corrupt their pure mission. But I just want to note what he just said, okay? So what he just said is, so those 2,500 people being recruited on college campuses, essentially, those are people who saw a sign with Karl Marx pointing at you saying, "Are you a communist?" There's a QR code on that sign. They scanned it with their phone. So they've already said to them, "Yes, I'm interested in communism." So that's what they're talking about, the 2,500 people signing up. These are people who saw something that said, "Are you a communist?" And they thought, "Yes, I am kind of communist." And they scanned the QR code to get on their mailing list. The next step after they get those college students on their mailing list is they start bringing them into their educational events. And they start educating them about the Russian Revolution and their specific philosophy, because they're trying to get them more in, basically, they're trying to teach them, this is how we enact the revolution in America right now. So there are stages to recruitment. People ask me all the time, how do people get recruited into the far left? He's literally explaining how it works. Let's see. We got Silly Billy over on Rumble. Would you say that we are in our own Weimar Republic? Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually not too far off, Silly Billy. I appreciate the Rumble rant. Nick says, saw a bunch of InfoWars tweets yesterday with your clips. Very cool seeing you get out there, Karlyn. People need to know your stuff. Yeah, that's a trip. That was a trip. And Harrison Smith, I just adore that guy. He has such good questions. I did not expect the interview to go on for that long, if I'm being honest about it. I thought I was going to get half of that time. And so shout out to Harrison Smith. I really appreciate him having me on. It was a great conversation. I will try to get a video of it up on the channel, guys, at some point. But if you found me from InfoWars, welcome. And what a cool thing. Wolfgang, I just wanted to say thank you for not giving up on this. We need you now more than ever. Hey, I appreciate that, Wolfgang. Thanks so much.
Now, by building a disciplined network of revolutionaries steeled in Marxist theory, capable of communicating those ideas to the broader working class, we can prepare for revolution. Now let's hear from our comrades in Dallas, Fort Worth, Chicago, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, Seattle, and New York City.
Yeah, let's hear from them. Let's do that. Yes. Almost 300 people in Dallas.
This area that I'm standing
Wait,
in,
look,
we had...
look, they're also telling us what campuses they're recruiting on. University of North Texas, University of Texas at Dallas, University of Texas at Arlington. They're specifically telling us where they are, guys.
Around this area that I'm standing in, we had 18 comrades intervene at a university fair that they were doing in UNT called Mean Green Fling. We were able to make 90 contacts and sell 27 papers while being out here. We've also been tabling every Monday through Wednesday right over here. Pretty much at every tabling, comrades have gotten around like...
Again, do we trust their numbers? Yes. They are not posting these videos on the internet to communicate with people like us. They are posting these videos on the internet to communicate with their members. This is like being a fly on the wall, guys. They're not like conservatives get so conspiratorial sometimes. You guys are like, the communists are posting videos on the internet that are lying about their numbers. And even though none of us watch their numbers, they're trying to trick us all into believing that they have no. They're not posting these videos to trick us. They're posting these videos to communicate to their members what they're doing and their recruiting efforts. We are watching their internal communication. They're not lying to each other. There would be no reason for them to lie to each other.
10 or so contacts.
The people that are joining us are incredibly energized to go and build, to study theory. One comrade in particular, they're jumping out in front of the table, calling out to people, "Are you sick of capitalism?" It was really incredibly inspiring. Basically, 1 in every 2 people you ask, they hate capitalism and they're very sympathetic to communism and love to hear what you're saying about fighting the system. Comrades have been putting forward our program, connecting with people on the streets and showing an option that can actually overthrow the capitalist system in their lifetime. In the past, when we had a good conversation, explained the role of the party, oftentimes we'd ask people, okay, do you want to sign up and write their name on the sheet? We changed this approach, and matching up with the seriousness of our content, we also matched up with the seriousness of our ask, asking them if they can join right on the spot, if they can join the party, and if not, set up a meeting with them right away. And with that, you can send them an article, or if they buy the paper, you have a concrete plan to actually discuss with them. That gives them a lot of energy to actually build the party, to learn more about our ideas.
We've also just had a very successful public event here in this building. I know it's a church, but that's where we had a pretty successful public event. We had about 10 people that weren't members of the organization show up to the event, recruited 1 person on the spot, and sold over $154 of press materials here. We've actually recruited 8 people at UNT so far of the fall offensive. And I will say with these 8 people, they're very serious, they're dedicated, and yes, they're paying a day's wage and dues.
They're paying a day's wage in dues. That is how they're funded. Their members pay a day's wage in dues.
Far of the fall offensive. And I will say with these 8 people, they're very serious, they're dedicated, and yes, they're paying a day's wage in dues.
Chicago, DePaul, Aurora.
That thirst for Marxist literature and a further examination of these ideas was felt this year. One important thing to note is the lack of identity politics in the conversations we were having at the tables.
Okay, I need to explain this to people. A lack of identity politics. Okay, so for people who are new to the far left, you might think that the far left is all about identity politics, but actually the opposite is true. The far left wants to abolish all identity because identity creates oppression. When you create identity categories, some will inherently be oppressors and some will inherently be oppressed. And so all oppression is created by the creation of these categories. This is what they think. I'm not saying what I think. I'm explaining what they think. So their actual goal is to eliminate all identity categories because they believe that all identity is a social construct based on capitalism. When we're talking about identity politics, and this is another reason that we need to explicitly separate socialists and communists from liberals, progressives, and Democrats. It's liberals, progressives, and Democrats that are doing identity politics to take advantage of identity issues in order to get votes and advance an agenda and things like that. But this is just another reason why Democrats and liberals and progressives are completely rejected by the Democratic Socialists of America and by the communists and socialists, because they fundamentally reject identity politics. Does everyone understand? Let me know if you have questions. I want you to hear that again, though. And look, he's standing outside the Student Center at DePaul University.
Marxist literature and a further examination of these ideas was felt this year. One important thing to note is the lack of identity politics in the conversations we were having at the tables. In previous fall offensives, there were these inundations with identity and who you represent. And in this year, those ideas were completely scattered by a more tangible economic concern. People wanted to know if they were going to be fed, housed, if they were going to have careers after college. And we were here to meet them and to let them know that under a socialist, centrally planned economy, those concerns can be met by the working class's efforts. We were able to convince 200 people to have a further discussion on these ideas. Those contacts have been reached out throughout the following weeks. And as of today, we've got 6 new members to the RCA here in Chicago.
We had many students walk up to the table and excitedly ask us, are you guys communists? They saw the hammer and sickle. They saw us tabling out here. And
so this is an example. Look at that guy's earrings. This is an example of how there are absolutely queer people within the RCA, but the RCA does not embrace queer politics. They don't think it's real Marxism. But just because the RCA doesn't embrace queer politics doesn't mean there aren't queer people in the RCA. Yeah, jump scare. Yeah, real. Real jump scare. Yep. I would say, yep, that he does look to be Jewish. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. We love Jews on this channel. We love bagels, but he definitely looks to be Jewish to me. Spartan over on Rumble. I have removed multiple RCA stickers in my area. That doesn't surprise me.
The RCA here in Chicago.
We had many students walk up to the table and excitedly ask us, are you guys communists? They saw the hammer and sickle. They saw us tabling out here, and they saw a politically organized and serious professional party organizing along class lines. And so many students saw that and immediately were writing their name on our sign-up sheet and asking us questions about how they can get involved. One student came up to our table and they bought not just the latest issue of the newspaper, they bought the prior 4 issues as well. They walked away with 5 copies of our paper and were telling us how excited they were to read it. And right then and there, we set up a—
Okay, let me just make something very clear, conservative retards. We are not going to have any conservative retardation in my chat. An example of conservative retardation is Soros funds everything and this bitch doesn't know what she's talking about because Soros is the funder of everything. Jessica, this is a retard take. This is a low IQ, Fox News, go the fuck away, like go somewhere else. Like I can't even deal with this. We are not going to do this. There is no, hang on, wait. Oh, hang on. Cry harder. Hey, Jessica, you just got banned. Bye, bitch. No retardation in the stream. Bye. Not smart enough to be here. See? 1 conservative down already. Let's see how many we get tonight. Guys, these people are not funded by George Soros, and anyone saying they are in the chat and whining that they are in the chat and insisting that they are in the chat, we're just going to assume that you're not smart enough to be here and you can go somewhere else, okay?
a meeting so that we could discuss them getting involved with the party as a full-fledged member. And even students who came up to our table with a general sense of skepticism or confusion or reluctance around the ideas of communism or Marxism, even they were asking questions with a genuine curiosity. Many of these students are incurring tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt and questioning how valuable is this college education going to be in their economic future. They see the mounting unemployment rate. They see the increasing disparity between the rich and the poor, and were asking us what our proposed solutions are for dealing with these very real problems.
I'm actually honored to be one of the new recruits for the RCA, and I met them just a couple weeks ago, and I spoke to Comrade Christian here. I had never really considered myself a very political person until about the past year. What really pleased me when I saw the group out here standing and talking to people and tabling was about a year and a half ago. We had the encampment in the DePaul Quad, which was busted up, and a lot of students who were in solidarity of Gaza and the genocide against Palestine. They busted it up and they just tore everybody up and sent them all home in the middle of the night. And it was a little horrific. And I think attention needs to be brought and the platform needs to be made here on the campuses and in the schools, in the cities. And there's an untapped group of students who are willing to have their voices be heard and join the RCA, and I think be part of the future.
Here
University
in
of
Minneapolis,
Minnesota?
on the University of Minnesota campus, we had tabling sessions 3 times a week at least. I'm here in front of Kauffman Memorial Union. This is the hub of where the students congregate, and we would often set up tabling sessions in front of the lawn here. I'm kind of over here in the main walkways. Wherever there was foot traffic, that's where the communists were. We also made an effort to poster all over campus and in the surrounding residential area leading up to the public event, which helped us to build.
So they're telling us explicitly what they did, guys. They're setting up tables on college campuses. They're postering the neighborhood with their communist stuff leading up to it. They're being extremely explicit about their strategy. And every time they do this, they recruit more people. Thank you, Tolkien fans. Soros is a laughable boogeyman of the conservative influencers meant to rile up their misinformed reactionary base. Well, we're not going to buy into that bullshit. We only hinge into primary source evidence here. So, guys, please make sure you have mounted the like button for me if you would be so kind. There's a shocking disparity between the number of people who are watching and the number of people who have introduced themselves to the like button. So you can give the like button a high five. You can give the like button a kiss on the cheek. You can give the like button a slap on the ass. Do whatever you want, but do something to that like button because we get more people in here when you do that, and I would really appreciate it. Malcolm, the inherent vice of capitalism is the unequal sharing of blessings. The inherent virtue of socialism is the equal sharing of miseries. Well, Winston Churchill was like one evil dude, but he got that one right. And then we've got Kimmy B over on Rumble. Karlyn, do they get any support through NGOs? No. Guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. The Revolutionary Communists of America and the Denver Communists, who are going to be watching next, they are both entirely self-funded. No NGOs, no Soros, no USAID, no CCP. Like, anyone who tells you otherwise is just lying. I'm sorry. So no, that is not real.
Build ourselves up as the communists on campus. Some students would recognize us from the posters and were enthusiastic to finally connect with us. About halfway through the fall offensive campaign,
hang on. Someone's asking a good question in the chat. Someone is asking a good question. This is a fair question, Warner, so I appreciate you asking it. Not trying to bait, honest question. Antifa is in no way connected to these socialists. Okay. It's tricky, right? Because there are a lot of far left groups. There are dozens and dozens and dozens at a minimum of relevant far left groups. You got Antifa. I'm going to talk to you about 3. Okay, we are watching the Revolutionary Communists of America right now. That's one far left revolutionary group. We are going to be watching the Denver Communists next. That is another far left revolutionary group. Antifa is yet another far left revolutionary group. For the most part, I don't think there's a ton of overlap between the RCA and Antifa or the Denver Communists and Antifa. I think they all kind of operate separately and they're kind of insular. Now, there might be some overlap, though. So I'm not going to say that there's no overlap. Someone could be both in the RCA and in Antifa. And they do align in values because all 3 of those groups that I just described, they do all want to overthrow the government, but they're going about it in completely different ways. And they all have different strategies and they all have different tactics and they all have different fundraising sources. So it's not to say that someone can't be a member of both or, quite frankly, all 3. So there is a reality in which a person could be a member of all 3 of those groups. But usually I think they operate pretty separately from each other. So you should never assume that just because a person is in the Revolutionary Communists of America, they are also in Antifa, because usually I don't think that's going to be the case. But there may be some individual members that participate in both. Does that make sense?
University Teamsters went on strike, and I'm standing right in the middle of where there was
Yeah, so someone else just asked another question, guys. So I do like answering questions. Do they have the same objective or the end goals different? They all have the same objective, which is to overthrow the government. The RCA wants to overthrow the government. The Denver Communists want to overthrow the government. Antifa wants to overthrow the government. But they all have different philosophies. They all have different tactics. They all have different ideas that they're playing around with. So it's like they all do get to the same place eventually, but they may all take different roads to get there. Like the Denver Communists are not as likely to go out and be like violent and destructive. They might do it sometimes, but they're more like intellectually arguing the point. The RCA tends to just recruit more people to their cause and get them into their educational like funnels and things like that. Antifa is almost entirely around direct action. So they all have basically the same thing that they're trying to achieve, but they all may go different ways in order to get there. Let me just rewind a little bit.
Enthusiastic to finally connect with us. About halfway through the fall offensive campaign, the University Teamsters went on strike, and I'm standing right in the middle of where there was a ginormous rally for these Teamsters. The strike piqued the interest of many students, and even though the strike didn't last long itself, we were able to fold these events into one another, asking students about the strike and asking the workers about support from the students. This was an opportunity to start political conversations left and right. We did get quite a few contacts over the course of the few weeks. We got at least over 100, and at the present moment, we were able to turn 5 of them into recruits.
Hang on. Do I think these people actually have a real chance of seizing power? Yes. Yes. I think these people are going to win. I think in the next 10 to 15 years, we are going to see these people try to radically overthrow the federal government. I meant what I said on Fox News, guys, for people who saw that appearance. The Civil War is not red versus blue. It's not Democrat versus Republican. The Civil War is radical revolutionary socialist and communist versus the federal government. I 100% believe they're going to try to overthrow the government. I think it's going to happen sooner than most people think. And I believe that they're going to win when they do it, because the fact of the matter is they are operating almost completely unopposed in this country right now, because people on the right don't actually pay attention, and people on the right and no one in the Trump administration is doing anything to stop this. So these guys are running around doing whatever they want to do. They're getting no opposition from the Trump administration. They're getting no opposition from the conservative right. They're just doing whatever they want. So they make progress every single day. That's why they have been, again, they've recruited 2,500 new members in the last month. Really think about that. Revolutionary communists on college campuses have recruited 2,500 new members in the last month. And that's only going to keep growing. And no one's talking about it. And no one's doing anything about it. Let me get this super chat. Sean, thank you. Do we have any data on whether our Marxist students grow up after graduation into Marxist adults? Yes, they do. Yes, 100%. Do they stay the course, or do they get married and get a job when it comes to entering the real world? Okay. So here's the thing, guys. People on the right like to say, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart. If you're not a conservative when you're old, you don't have a brain. That may have been true previously, but we are in a world now where these kids have been educated in this ideology since they were 5 years old. And so there may have been a reality in the past where people were not going through a full-on indoctrination system in our public schools. That ended about two decades ago. The public schools were completely captured about 2 decades ago. So everyone that's gone through the public schools in the last 20, 25 years has gone through a public school system that is completely captured by the far left. So it may have been true 40 years ago. If you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative when you're older, you have no brain. That was true 40 years ago. That was true 30 years ago. We are now getting into a place where that is not true anymore, because the indoctrination has started so much younger. And when you start that young, it's almost impossible to change your mind later. So it may have been true in the past that communists would they go to college and they play around with all these lefty ideas and stuff. And then they go out into the real world and they get a job. And then they realize how jobs work and money works and all this stuff. And they're like, oh, now I'm conservative and I don't want to pay taxes and stuff like that. It is true that that happened before. I don't think it's true that that's going to happen as much now because the indoctrination has started so much younger. Okay. Thanks for the question.
Conversations left and right. We did get quite a few contacts over the course of the few weeks. We got at least over 100, and at the present moment, we were able to turn 5 of them into recruits and 1 sustainer. We've also made over $460 in sales, and this was kind of capstoned by our public event, Why You Should Be a Communist. There were at least 10 contacts in total at the event.
Hey, Matthew, sorry I missed you last night. Sorry I missed you. I put my phone down for like 30 seconds to do something, and that was when you called, and then I went to bed not long after that. But I hope you had a good night. Matt Adams is one of the guys streaming in Portland, guys. Please support him. Follow him on Twitter. He does a great job, and we watched some of his stream last night, and I hope you guys will be out there again. I hope you guys are staying safe in Portland. Azerwing, it helps that the economy is working against them. It's providing them with confirmation bias. Well, yeah, and that's another thing is the economy is actually serving the communists right now in their recruitment efforts. That's a really good point. I am 29 perpetually and always, and no one should question that. I am always and perpetually 29. That's the way it goes.
Event. They all stuck around. We were singing songs afterward, revolutionary songs. We asked 2 to join on the spot, and they did. We asked comrades who came up to the table, why did you walk over? And many of them pointed to our banner that a comrade made. Abolish the billionaires, abolish wage slavery, free tuition, free healthcare, free Palestine. One of the new recruits we made here on campus is a comrade who moved from Louisiana. They've been following along with the Against the Stream podcast for a while, and they knew that we had a significant presence in Minneapolis. And when they saw us at a table, they walked up and they said, finally, I found you, when they saw us, and proceeded to join on the spot. They brought in another friend of theirs as well.
I had picked up the State and Revolution and the Spectre of Communism podcast around the same time. Having those 2 perspectives to kind of build off of and compare to.
It's another queer, guys. It's another queer. The RCA queers trip me out, though, because the Revolutionary Communists of American queers don't act like other queer activists. They act much more economic communist. And so when I see queer activists within the RCA, it always trips me the fuck out because they're so different than normal queer Marxists.
Brought in another friend of theirs as well.
I had picked up the State and Revolution and the Spectre of Communism podcast around the same time.
That's
Having
queer,
those 2
yes.
perspectives to kind of build off of and compare to, I think very much helped. And by the time I had finished the book, I was pretty confident that I wanted to join the party and that they had the right ideas.
What was it like listening to it in a world of, confusion? And what kind of drew you to its ideas and its message?
It felt very much like having somebody who knew what they were saying, knew what they were talking about, and was imparting this knowledge that they had collected. And they really gave some analysis of things that I had not previously known about. They talked about things like the Russian Revolution. One that really stuck with me was like the art and culture in the Russian Revolution, something I had not previously considered. And then this very educated, knowledgeable person tell me, this is what happened, this is where things were going, this is why we care, and this is our perspective. It had very cohesive ideas.
What was it like meeting our comrades at the tabling session? What did you feel the first time you saw that hammer and sickle on our paper?
I was working to try to actively find the party because I wanted to join. And so whenever I first saw one of our tabling sessions, I was riding my bike and I rode past them, turned around, parked it, and was like, I need to get y'all's contact information. And everyone was very welcoming. I got the number of one of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest. Christina, I think you have positive intent, but the person who made that movie, Julie has lied about me all over the internet because Julie tried to get me to help her fundraise for that movie before she made it, and I was too busy and I didn't have time to help her. And so in response, Julie started spreading all sorts of lies about me all over the internet. She has smeared me and defamed me multiple times. So with all due respect, Julie, who is the producer of that particular movie, can go fuck herself. Also, if you think that James Lindsay, yeah, I know you didn't have any idea. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I'm not mad at you. Because I know that people don't know this because I don't talk about it a lot. No worries. I understand that. But I would also say this. James Lindsay doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about when it comes to queer ideology. And I know that James Lindsay's in that movie because he's the one that eventually helped her fundraise. And so he doesn't know what he's talking about. And so he has actually misinformed a lot of people about what is going on in that whole situation. None of that is your fault, Christina. I just want to encourage you, look into the actual queer Marxist documents because honestly, the situation is so much worse than James thinks it is. The situation is so much worse than what was than what was portrayed in that movie. And so I would encourage you to look at the primary source evidence. I'm not mad at you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your interest in the topic. And so I just wanted to make that note though, because I don't like that bitch. She lied about me. She can go fuck herself. Billy, thank you. I appreciate your pure honesty on anything and everything. Well, I am nothing if I am not. Someone once, I once went to a conference, and when I went to the conference, they had you fill out a form that said, "What is your superhero power?" And I was like, I don't know what my superhero power is. So I asked a bunch of my friends. I was like, guys, what is my superhero power? And my friend said, "Oh, that's easy, Karlyn. It's brute force honesty." I was like, that's actually a pretty great superhero power. I'll take it. Why not?
Members, and I talked to them about when the meetings were. I came in, there was a very approachable atmosphere. There was space to talk. Overall, I found it very easy to kind of like voice ideas and try to hammer out my perspective and how that kind of, what the party's perspective was on these things.
I think this shows us the desire for Marxist ideas and for people to change their conditions by joining a revolutionary party.
My name's Ethan. I'm a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America here in Philadelphia. And right now I'm out here on Temple University's campus, where for the past 3 weeks, we've been talking to students about the need for revolutionary communism. And really the response that we've gotten has been ecstatic so far. Students are completely fed up, completely angry with climate change, with war and genocide and imperialism, with austerity cuts, the cuts to our public transportation system all around us. I could keep going on and on. But it's been to the point where at our very first tabling, before we were even set up, someone, a student on campus, leapt up to us and was like, "Are you guys the Temple Communists? I've been looking for you guys." And this is the kind of mood we've been met with to try and connect with this radical mood, especially amongst the youth. And for the first 2 weeks, we tabled very intensely on campus, 2 or 3 times every single day. We have talked with an untold hundreds, maybe even thousands of students here on campus. We've made over 180 signups, sold over 160 papers, and already recruited 5 new communists here at Temple into our ranks, with many more on the way. We had multiple discussions on the most recent issue of The Communist, issue number 16. It has the questions students are having, like on reformism and Zoran Mamdani, or what would a communist America look like?
Okay,
what kind of
hang on. We have to explain something. He just said, these are the Revolutionary Communists of America, revolutionary communists. They're handing out a newspaper called The Communist on college campuses. One of the things they talked about in that newspaper is Zoran Mamdani, who is, of course, the Democratic Socialist, who is going to be the next mayor of New York City. Now, let me ask you guys this. And there's a lot of people in the chat, so we're going to do 1s and 2s just so I can get a sense of what people think. Okay, so press 1 in the chat if you think the Revolutionary Communists of America support Zoran Mamdani. Press 2 in the chat if you think the Revolutionary Communists of America do not support Zoran Mamdani. So that's all I'm looking for. 1 in the chat if you think the Revolutionary Communists of America support Zoran Mamdani. 2 in the chat if you think the Revolutionary Communists of America do not support Zoran Mamdani. Got a mix? Lots of 2s, though. Some 1s, lots of 2s. Well, the 2s are the ones that got it right. Because you got to remember, guys, and again, if you got it wrong, that's probably because you're new, but this is an important point for people to understand. So I love seeing all the 2s in the chat because you guys know what's up. Okay. When we're talking about not radical enough, that's exactly right. When we're talking about the far left, there are basically 2 types of socialists on the far left. There are the reform socialists, which are the Revolutionary Communists of America, or excuse me, strike that, reverse it. There are the reform socialists, who are the Democratic Socialists of America, and there are the revolutionary socialists, like the Revolutionary Communists of America. The Democrat Socialists of America want to work within the electoral system in order to make small incremental changes that will overthrow capitalism over time. The revolutionaries do not want to work within the electoral system. They believe the electoral system upholds capitalism. They believe that any socialist who runs and gains elected office will eventually be turned into an evil capitalist. Hey, thanks, Billy, for the 1 gifted channel membership. Looks like Salvatore got that gift. Congratulations. And so revolutionary communists like the RCA, they do not support the Democratic Socialists of America. They actually consider the Democratic Socialists of America to be like their ideological enemy because they think that Zoran Mandami is not leftist enough, and they think he's basically getting sucked into the capitalist system where he will do nothing but advance capitalist values. Honey Badger, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's go back.
We have talked with an untold hundreds, maybe even thousands of students here on campus. We've made over 180 signups, sold over 160 papers, and already recruited 5 new communists here at Temple into our ranks, with many more on the way. We had multiple discussions on the most recent issue of The Communist, issue number 16. It has the questions students are having, like on reformism and Zoran Mamdani, or what would a communist America look like? What kind of party are we recruiting students to? Are we recruiting them to, a book club, a reading group, or maybe just, some kind of student organization like all the others? Or are we recruiting them to a serious professional revolutionary party that treats them like adults? Our first public meeting that we had just this past week, which was called Why You Should Be a Revolutionary Communist. And I think this was a big success. 15 really high quality contacts came out to it, all of which were enthralled in the political discussion, and 2 of which joined right on the spot after the meeting. And I think the morale was very high in the room. And this is only the beginning. We have a second public meeting planned in a couple of weeks from now on reform versus revolution. We have the New York Marxist School. We're trying to bring as many students here on campus out to as possible in November. How do we need to advertise this?
Hang on. Pete is asking a good question. Are these guys RCA or RCP? Okay, so Pete, what you're talking about is the RCP is the Revolutionary Communist Party in Canada. So the RCP is the one that we watched earlier this week that was talking about how they don't support individual terrorism because of the individual part, not because of the terrorism part. The RCP is the Revolutionary Communist version. Okay, so the RCP is part of the Revolutionary Communist International, but they're the Canadian contingent. The RCA is the American contingent. So they are in the same group, technically, but one is for Canada and one's for the United States. Good question, though. And guys, none of these people should be confused with Communist Party USA. Communist Party USA is basically irrelevant. They went through a whole scandal last year. They kicked out a whole bunch of people. You should also not confuse the Revolutionary Communists of America with the RevComs. The RevComs are a very specific communist group. They hand out their literature quite a bit, but they're very cult-like, and they're not really taken seriously on the far left. And they're just kind of like weird. We don't really cover them a lot, but it can be very easy to confuse the Revolutionary Communists of America with the RevComs because their names are so similar, but they're absolutely not the same group, like at all. Hey, thanks, Billy. Appreciate it. Who got it? My Florida Oasis got the channel membership.
We need to take these posters and we need to go out to our periphery, all these signups and contacts that we've made, all the new comrades that we've recruited, put these posters in their hands and say, hey, do you have any friends that are going to be interested in this meeting? Can you go into your classroom and ask your teacher if you can shout out this meeting that you're really excited for? Really, one, gets the students to spread the word amongst the rest of the student body themselves. And then 2, this also serves another purpose of immediately wrapping up all of our new contacts and recruits into the practical activity of building the party. We've established a super definite presence here on campus. Whether they agree with us yet or not, every single student out here knows that the communists are here. Boldly, they know that if they want to go to any kind of radical leftist communist organization, it's going to be us.
Comrades, I want to take a quick moment out of the episode to remind you.
Hang on. I want to be very clear. I'm not drinking a fucking IPA. I want it this is the most offensive thing that has been said in the chat all night. You think I'm drinking an IPA? IPAs suck. IPAs are pissing contests for men who want to see who can drink the most bitter beer. It's like a penis measuring contest, but with beer. Okay, I'm not drinking an IPA. I would never drink IPAs. I am drinking a pumpkin cider. I will have you know, horse lord. All right. Don't tell me to chill when you bring up IPA in my chat. Yeah, banned. Exactly. Banned for bad beer selection. I am offended. I am personally and perpetually offended at the notion of IPAs. The communist topic is an intricate rabbit hole. Careful newbies if you're going to look deeper on your own. Yeah, indeed. That's very true. Good advice, average person. Yeah, me for the win. Thank you, No Mayo. I appreciate it. I'm keeping an eye on you, Horse Lord. You're on probation.
Communist organization, it's going to be us.
Comrades, I want to take a quick moment out of the episode to remind you to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, please send them down in the comment section. We're not content creators. We're not doing this to make ad money on YouTube. We're on this platform so that we can give Marxist ideas to the communist layer in society and recruit them to the revolutionary communists of America. So again, like, subscribe, and comment on the videos, and share this video with who you think might be interested in joining the Revolutionary Communists of America. If you haven't joined the party, go down into the description of this video and click the link communistusa.org/join.
Seattle, University
the
of Washington.
Seattle Communists are out here on a cold Sunday morning.
That's their newspaper. So okay, so when you join, they've got a whole look at this. They've got a whole literature stand. Maybe someone in Seattle, hint hint, can go find the RCA in Seattle, hint hint, and go take all their literature. That would be pretty great if someone did that was in Seattle. I'm just saying. So okay. So I told you guys that when new members join the RCA, they pay 1 day's wages a month in dues. In return for that, they get sent stickers and they get sent the copies of this newspaper called The Communist. And they do new editions of this newspaper all the time. And basically they hand this newspaper out on the streets, or sometimes they might sell it too. But they hand this stuff out like on public transportation to try to recruit people. It looks like they've got a little tabling stand right there where they're handing it out. But that's actually the physical newspaper that they get.
Talking to students and workers as they commute about their day and explain to them what capitalism is and how it's not going to be able to solve their problems, why we need a genuine communist party in order to fight against the Republicans, against the Democrats, and actually represent the workers. And a lot of people are open to those ideas. We've gotten 4 sales.
Yo! Wait. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Look at Portland. Look at Portland. Yo! Breaking news, protest update, tear gas in Portland.
Handy, bro. I'm out of here, boys. I'm getting out of this. This is about an hour ago, Michael.
Oh, that's about an hour ago?
In Portland, an hour.
Oh, wait, I'm even behind on Portland Andy's stream. Portland Andy isn't even streaming anymore. Okay, so that's not breaking news. That was about an hour ago. Looks like Portland Andy's turning his stream off. What happened, though? Let's rewind. Since this isn't live anyway, let's rewind and find the tear gas coverage.
Thank you, Portland Andy.
You're very
Let's find that. We'll have to get another stream if Portland Andy's going offline. What happened? Yo! That's Portland during the day. It's going to pop off tonight then, isn't it? Guys, we will be doing protest coverage after we get done with Socialism Saturday, so don't worry. We'll be doing that too.
We're trying to get there, Misty.
Angela ASHKINS super chatted $10. Thank you for your coverage of the clown show Heart.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you. This is from Freedom News TV.
Wow. This is what communism looks like in practice, guys. There is something gratifying about them watching them all be tear gassed, though. Been watching you for years, but my partner is president. He heard you say for the first time talking about IPAs, and he went from mocking to, hell, I'd have dinner with her. Love you very much, Dr. Karlyn. Thank you. Appreciate it. Do they have organized militias?
About an hour ago. A little over an hour ago.
Do they have organized militias? Not really. Not in the way that you think of them, Robert, but that's a really good question. There is the John Brown Gun Club. There is the Socialist Rifle Association, but I wouldn't call them militias like you might think of them.
Thanks, T-Spy.
Wow. What a scene. All right. Well, I guess since that's not live, let's go back to our other thing. We will find some live coverage, guys, to have up on the screen there. But let's go back to our RCA video. Crazy. I knew it was going to, I mean, Saturdays are always a good day for communist nonsense, you know? All right, let's go back to our RCA video.
With people. So we're really excited to continue our fall offensive and head back onto campus once the students get back.
Here in New York, the fall offensive has been great. We've been targeting campuses in 4 out of the 5 boroughs. And from what I can tell, seems like everywhere we've targeted, there's been a general enthusiasm for communism, but more so, people have been very curious about communism and asking very fundamental questions that we are excited to answer. And this, of course, makes all the sense in the world. You know, in a world dominated by capitalism, only our enemies get to define these things. Most people don't learn about communism from.
Hang on. We got a nice big super chat. I always love seeing nice big super chats. Thank you, Wild Style. I appreciate this. What is the relationship between U.S. labor unions and communists and socialists? Oh, bro. I'm asking because one of the largest NYC labor unions, DC 37, just endorsed Mandami. What do you see as the ideological overlap between those two groups? That is such an important question. And I really appreciate you asking it. Okay. The labor unions, at least the leadership in most of the labor unions, are almost entirely controlled by leftist activists. Not all of them are revolutionary communists, but some of them are. There are many DSA members in the unions. The unions are a hotbed of leftist political organizing. Now, that is not to say that every single person in a union is a communist or socialist, because that's just not true. There are a lot of people who have to be in unions, like you're forced to be in unions in order to get jobs or to be able to work a specific place. So I'm not talking about just people who are forced to be in unions and they're not really involved. I'm talking about the people who are actively running the unions. If you listen to protest coverage and you watch organizing calls with me, you will see that on almost every single leftist organizing call, there is at least one, if not multiple, union representatives. The unions are at the core of every single one of these protests. And I've been covering this lately in terms of the Democratic Socialists of America doing this whole salting effort, where the idea is the Democratic Socialists of America have a whole program in which they are trying to get people jobs and organizations to agitate to create more unions. And all of this is leading up to a mass general strike in May Day 2028. And this is what I talked about on InfoWars with Harrison Smith this week. This is a very active thing. I feel so strongly that we need to have congressional hearings into the political organizing activities of the unions like now. And it's all unions. It's not just the teachers' unions. It's all unions. They are all hotbeds of far left political activism. They are directly impeding the Trump administration's deportation efforts. They are the ones that are organizing these community groups to basically attack ICE and prevent people from being deported. They are the ones pushing all this shit in public schools. I mean, it's just like it's top. They're the ones pushing this shit in higher education. It is top to bottom, completely controlled by leftist organizers, and they are involved in absolutely everything. So for my money, no more hearings about anti-Semitism. I'm tired of hearing about anti-Semitism. The Trump administration and Republicans in Congress have got to have congressional hearings into the political organizing activities of the unions. They've got to start actually paying attention to the problem. They have to start seeing where these people are spending their time, what they're actually doing, all the organizing that they're doing. The unions were heavily involved throughout the Socialism Conference that we covered a couple months ago. The teachers' unions are intimately involved with all the protest organizing. All the other unions are involved in it as well. It's like one of those things where if people don't start taking the union problem seriously, then we are totally and completely fucked. So great question.
Vladimir Lenin or Karl Marx or your friendly neighborhood communists. They learn about these ideas from Tucker Carlson or Jesse Waters or what have you, Fox News. So a lot of people have been coming up to us and asking us for, the perspective on these issues from a communist. We've recruited over 20 new dues payers at an average of over $50 dues. I know that in Brooklyn, we recruited 5 new members, one of whom is a college student, which is very, very good. In Queens, we recruited 3 new students and more members on top of that. In the Bronx, we now have a series of active contacts, and we have a series of active contacts, people who are likely to join soon in a high school which is quite exciting.
Okay, Veli's
and then
down
the
in
big
the
news from New
Portland,
York is that we now have our first actual foot.
So guys, this is Veli at Portland, Portland outside the ICE facility. So we now have a live stream outside of the ICE facility. Thank you, Veli. Everyone go subscribe and support Veli Ray. I will send him a tip later when I get a chance. Steve R., the Supreme Court needs to undo the the National Labor Relations Act in 1935, which is unconstitutional and has government picking winners and companies. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Steve. Thanks so much for the super chat. Saw a reel on Facebook talking about it. They are planning on lining up at the end of all the so this is actually a great point. So all of the unions are trying to end their contracts in May 2028 so that they all go on strike at the same time. So you actually saw a reel on Facebook talking about this. They're planning on lining up the end of all of the union contracts May 1st, 2028 in order to facilitate a mass general strike, which probably is illegal, and maybe some politicians should be looking out for that. Maybe some Republican politicians should look out for that. I'm just saying, maybe some Republican politicians should do their job. No, Mayo, anti-Semitism distracts from the very real threat of the radical revolutionary far left. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. 100%.
Hold at NYU. We have a brand.
Veli didn't get arrested. Tommy got arrested. So Tommy did get released. I don't think did Veli get arrested after I went to bed? I don't think Veli got arrested. Veli was fine last night. I appreciate that. But Tommy seems to be out of jail. He was tweeting earlier today. Tommy has ordered a GoPro set. So Tommy is not giving up. Tommy is the hero that we need, and hopefully we'll be tuning into him later.
There, and we had a public meeting in which 16 contacts attended.
Tommy's live right now.
Very, very well.
Okay.
We had a lead off on why you should be a communist, and a lively discussion that followed on all types of questions, like what happened in the Soviet Union, what about China, all of these kinds of things. It was very, very good and engaging. And now we're probably going to end up dividing the Manhattan branch from 1 into 2.
We're doing the fall offensive at a high school for the first time in New York City this year.
I'm sorry, what? The Revolutionary Communists of America are recruiting at high schools? You don't say. Tell us more, please.
Good and engaging. And now we're probably going to end up dividing the Manhattan branch from 1 into 2.
We're doing the fall offensive at a high school for the first time in New York City this year. And a couple of weeks ago, we set up our table with the RCA banner on the corner of the high school. And as the students passed by when they were let out of school, a lot of them stopped by our table to ask questions. There's a lot of curiosity around these ideas. What is communism? How is it different from socialism? What is capitalism? And at one point, there was a group of freshmen and sophomores who started to chant communism, and eventually there was a mosh pit formed around our table. But outside of all of that enthusiasm, there are people who are looking to get involved. We've had serious conversations. One of the people followed us and asked us questions for a full hour, and even joined us at the social afterwards to ask us about imperialism and the role that U.S. imperialism has played. We have a high school comrade who's working really hard to build in his high school. He's been talking about these ideas with his friends, and one of his friends has actually already come to one of our branch meetings, and we recruited him as well. So this goes to show you that the youth is hungry for these ideas. They're looking to get involved, and as long as we're going out there and connecting with them, we have the potential to grow into a sizable force, hopefully relatively quickly.
Thank you,
Why am I communist?
Appreciate it.
A lot of different reasons. Like the main reason would be related to like my experience and my family's experience with healthcare in the United States. I mean, healthcare for profit. I start to realize why people distrust medicine. It's because of the profit incentive. Anything that could make a positive difference or is supposed to help people was really corrupted by the profit motive. The first time that I met the comrades, I was on the quad. When I first passed them, I was like, I kind of want to say something, but I was like nervous, like, what do I say? They were like saying, are you tired of capitalism? I am. So that really caught my attention. And I went back past them, and then I went back and I was talking to them. I talked about a lot of anger that I had, a lot of grievances, a lot of things in the world that are like so depressing, things that I have been thinking about for a really long time. And they were talking about like solutions.
We're not done yet, right? The point is that the fall offensive has kind of opened the floodgates for interest, contacts, activity. Now we are really reaping what we've sown, and we're still actively recruiting and channeling all of this energy into actually building the party.
Today, the
poster.
RCA is a small force.
Hang on, we got Silly Billy over on Rumble. Sorry, I missed this earlier, Silly Billy. A protester just said the revolution is not about following rules. Yep, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Silly Billy says, is that Moloch the owl behind him? I mean, I'm not sure about that one. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. All right. Cool.
On the political landscape, but history is on our side. This process won't be a straight line to victory, but our message will
God, look at all
resonate
the
more
people out
and
in
more
Portland right
in the
now.
years ahead. It's a process that the ruling class is unable to stop. Right now, it's up to the cadres of the Revolutionary Communist International, armed with Marxist ideas, to carry that process to its revolutionary conclusion.
All right. Are you a communist? And get organized. That is the Revolutionary Communists of America, guys. If that's your first introduction to the Revolutionary Communists of America, you are welcome. You are welcome. Just discovered your channel 2 days ago. I am fascinated. What is the utopia these Marxists want to create? Do they even have an idea of what they want to do if they succeed? Oh yeah, of course they have an idea. Marxists want to abolish capitalism. Capitalism to the left means private property ownership. This is the only definition of capitalism that matters, guys. To the far left, they mean private property ownership, which is defined as bourgeois property, property that you can use to create privatized personal wealth. So they want to abolish your ability to own a home. They want to abolish your ability to own land. They want to abolish your ability to own an apartment that you rent out as a landlord or an Airbnb. They want to abolish your all intellectual property. They want to abolish your ability to own a private business, whether or not that private business is big or small. They want to also abolish parental rights over your kids because they believe that parental rights are a form of private property because it allows you to pass property from parent to child through generational wealth, and that keeps it privatized and out of the hands of the collective. Additionally, they want to abolish all police. They want to abolish all prisons. They want to abolish all money. They want to abolish all banks. They want to completely control education, no private schools, no charter schools, no homeschooling. They want all healthcare to be free for everyone and available on demand. That includes psychiatric drugs. That includes trans hormones. That includes free abortions up until birth. They also want to abolish private kitchens within the home because private kitchens within the home prevent you from communing with the comrades in the general canteen. They also want to control the food supply. So what they envision is that you get rid of private kitchens and homes. Everyone has to go to the community canteen to get their food. They get their food rations. They eat with the other comrades, stuff like that. There's more than that too, but that is a good overview of what they want. They are very clear about what they want. They're very consistent in what they want, and that's basically it. That's basically it. Let me grab a couple super chats. Recruiting in high schools is horrible because it goes against the parents' rights indirectly. Teens aren't directly affected by capitalism anyway. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Gothic. I think that's a great point. I would love to buy your teachers are lying to me merch on the same bag as the anti-Antifa one. Can you do that on the website? Yes, I can, Albert. Let me make a note of that. I will add that bag to the store for you. Look for that in the next couple days. So I will definitely add that for you. No worries. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. To enforce this, they would need well, yes, they would probably need something. Uh-oh. Hang on. Should we go to Veli? Should we go live to Veli? Hang on. Looks like they're about to do something. Live to Veli. This sounds like Klaus Schwab and the WEF. So they actually hate the WEF. So how I explain this, and I'll turn the sound up for this in a second, and we'll go live to Veli for a second. How I explain this is think of the WEF as the Yankees, and think of the Radical Revolutionary Communists as the Red Sox. They both play baseball. They both want to win the World Series, but they are not on the same team. It just means they're going to fight at some point. Radical Revolutionary Communists and Socialists hate the WEF. They are two completely different things, but they are all globalists, so it's easy to confuse them, but they're basically just going to fight at some point is what's going to happen. Veli, why is your stream frozen? Hang on, I want to know what's going on in Portland. Why is Veli's stream frozen? It's very inconsiderate, Veli. let's stick with this for a second, guys. We do have one more video we're going to watch tonight from the Denver Communists, but I do want to see what's going on in Portland. Let me try reloading, see if that works. There was someone else streaming from Portland too, so we can pull up someone else, but it looks like there's something about to happen, so I want to see. That's not in Portland. Shit. Let's see. Let me see if I can find another Portland stream real quick. Veli, of course, losing his connection as soon as we need him. Okay, this doesn't look live. All right, well, I guess we'll have to wait for Veli to come back. And we'll have to see what's going on. We will get him back, though, at some point. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on while we're waiting for coverage from Portland to come back. So we do have one more video that we're going to watch tonight, guys. And this is from the Denver Communists. I'll pull something up in a second, guys. Hang on. Honey Badger Mom is live? Okay, let's go to Honey Badger Mom. Okay, hang on. Hang on. I will go to her real quick. Actually, this is good because I need to pee anyway. So we'll go to Honey Badger Mom and we'll see what's going on live. There we go. Okay, I'm going to pee. I'll be right back. Let me know if I miss anything. This is live in Portland outside of the ICE facility, courtesy of Honey Badger Mom.
Yeah, Portland police said I'm the antagonizer. Oh my gosh. Jen, what are you doing here? I'm so glad you're here. You can hang around next to me, but I'm going to tell you they're going to be mean. I knew you were going to say. I'm just saying.
Are you Honey Badger?
Yeah. Oh, hi. I don't know. I guess so because he's hugging me. Thank you. Yes, she's my good friend Jen, who I haven't seen in like a month and a half probably. All I've been doing is working. I know. You're like round the clock, man. Yes. If I'm not doing my other job, I'm doing this job. I think so. I just want to film what they're doing in Haiti. It's so gross. How are you doing?
All right, I'm back. What's happening? Why am I looking at this guy's ass? Okay, it looks pretty tame. Did they? Good. Good that we're arresting people. Let's see. Got a super chat over on Rumble, the Jerk Store. Hey, Karlyn, how do we dissuade the ignorant from communism when the current capitalist system is ramping up inflation, making life ever more difficult? I don't have an answer for that, Jerk Store CEO. I'm just studying the far left. I have no idea how to do that, but that's a good question. Oh my God, look at that sign. They're comparing her to Tammy Lowen. Whatever. Thanks for the channel and info. They want to turn this into Cuba. Lots of videos on YouTube. Cuba's not their ideal because Cuba is very Stalinist. What they do want to do is they do want to do the Russian Revolution in America. Okay, it looks like things are pretty tame in Portland right now, guys. We will keep an eye on Portland, but I do want to go back and I do want to get that other video in. So I will put a monitor up here so that we can watch what's going on in Portland and, of course, go there if anything goes live. The federal judge just blocked the deployment of the National Guard. Yup. Here we go. The fun never ends. Thank you, Mandate from Heaven. I appreciate that. Of course he did. All right, guys, we are going to go into our second video of the night, and this time we are going to the Denver Communists. Now, the Denver Communists are a completely different group than the Revolutionary Communists of America. They are extremely revolutionary. They are part of the Firebrand Collective. The Firebrand Collective is a national decentralized organization of loosely affiliated revolutionary communist groups. You got the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists, you've got the Boston Socialists, the Boston Revolutionary Socialists, I think. You've got Revolutionary Socialists in New York. I'm pretty sure they have a chapter in San Francisco. I'm pretty sure they have a chapter in the South. But the Firebrand Collective is a loosely affiliated group of organizations that want to overthrow the federal government. They also work with a group called Socialist Horizon, which is another group on the far left. And so all of these different groups on the far left, they all have the same sense of like, we need to abolish capitalism and we need to overthrow the government and all that stuff. But they do all have different ideas about how to get there. So we're going to be watching a video from the Denver Communists. This video was posted about 24 hours ago. It only has 174 views, and it is entitled, Who on Earth Would Celebrate the Assassination of Charlie Kirk? So you guys are going to hear directly from communists what they think about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It should be really interesting. I've heard Mao is their favorite model. Is that accurate? No. It's not accurate at all. And in fact, you should stop listening to anyone who told you that, because they explicitly denounce Mao like all the time. The Revolutionary Communists of America explicitly denounce Mao. The Denver Communists actually explicitly denounce Mao. Most of the far left groups in America explicitly denounce Mao. So you've probably heard this because James Lindsay has been parroting this like a psycho for years. And so a lot of people think that we are doing Maoism with American characteristics. That is completely and totally wrong. That is not what these groups are trying to do at all. And they will tell you that in their own videos on their channels. And you can go look. We've watched some of them before. But we can always watch more in the future. We're just not going to talk more about that today. All right. Let's get into the video. Thanks. Great info. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see what they have to say about Charlie Kirk.
Chance to read some things that I had very quickly written after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, I guess a little more than 2 or 3 weeks ago, exactly. And I was pushing back against certain narratives. And if folks follow me on Facebook or are friends with me, they'll also see that I kind of took a particular stance where I was deliberately mocking the fascists and to a degree also liberals who were getting their knickers in a bunch about political violence. And in the pieces that I wrote on my Substack, I just wanted to make a few basic points, which is that, first we saw this response that we shouldn't really be surprised about by liberals, and I'll talk about it more, in that they were celebrating Charlie Kirk as a virtue, as a paragon of classical Enlightenment liberalism, that he is someone who stood for free speech, free inquiry, civil debate. I think Ezra Klein, the midwit vlogger and columnist for the New York Times, might have used those terms.
Ezra Klein is one of the people that runs Indivisible, which is the progressive group, and he was just called a midwit by the Denver Communists. Again, guys, remember, communists hate liberals. Communists hate Democrats. The Denver Communists in particular are extremely vocal about their hatred of liberals and Democrats. They did not vote for Joe Biden. They did not vote for Kamala Harris. These people don't vote for elections at all. These people believe Zora Mindami is a traitor to the revolutionary cause. And they will tell you that probably many times in this presentation.
I think Ezra Klein, the midwit vlogger and columnist for the New York Times, might have used those terms. We also saw just the completely unctuous Gavin Newsom praising Charlie Kirk. And, this is, again, we shouldn't be surprised about this. And also AOC I think, who has turned out to maybe predictably be a real enemy of the working class in a lot of ways. Maybe not all, but in some.
He just said AOC is an enemy of the working class. Real socialists and communists hate AOC. They hate her. They shit talk her all the time. We are watching the Denver Communists, their revolutionary communist group that's part of the Firebrand Collective. Listen, they hate her and Bernie Sanders.
And also AOC, I think, who has turned out to maybe predictably be a real enemy of the working class in a lot of ways. Maybe not all, but in some significant ways. Also, gave us the pablum that political violence is un-American, and it's just like you have to be delusional, a racist, or a clueless liberal to think political violence is un-American.
I'm sorry, what? You have to be a racist, something else, or a liberal to think that political violence is un-American? I'm sorry, excuse me, what? You have to be delusional, a racist, or a liberal to think that political violence is un-American. This is why we watch communism, guys, because they say the quiet part out loud all the time. Let me just get a clip of that. I'm just gonna record a clip of this. Well, just to get it. I feel like this clip is gonna be useful. I don't know why.
Political violence is un-American.
Oh, hang on. We gotta go back.
Physicsing Charlie Kirk. And this is, again, we shouldn't be surprised about this. And also AOC, I think, who has turned out to maybe predictably be a real enemy of the working class in a lot of ways. Maybe not all, but in some significant ways. Also, gave us the pablum that political violence is un-American, and it's just like you have to be delusional, a racist, or a clueless liberal to think political violence is un-American. It is violence, as then Stokely Carmichael's, I think was it Stokely Carmichael or H. Rep Brown said, is as American as cherry pie. This country was completely founded on political violence, and we shouldn't need to repeat that. But I think something that's very important is liberals are completely beholden to this idea of nonviolence. And again, this is an extraordinarily dangerous moment, unlike anything any of us have ever seen before in this country, and I'll also get into that as well. And we need to be very careful. I think we can use kind of like irony and joking to our advantage, which was what I was trying to do, because that's what the right loves to say. Hey, can't you take a joke? But we have to be also really cautious about how extreme the situation is, and I think we could really see not before too long the possibility of preventative detention, right, where you start to see leftist organizers such as myself and yourselves get rounded up for no reason whatsoever. What we've seen in Chicago, and in fact for the last 6 months, it's people keep asking me my take on it. I'm like, it's very simple. This is the Iraq War brought home. This is the same tactics that were used to try to quash the resistance in Iraq after the occupation after the invasion of occupation in 2003. Of course, it's not anywhere as deadly as what we've seen in Iraq. There are the torture mills and death squads where, hundreds of bodies are showing up every week, but immigrants are being tortured en masse in places like Alligator, Alcatraz. But the tactics, the militarization, the use of weaponry, repelling from helicopters, the deliberate idea of terrorizing people. This was very much the Iraq War, and it's also just counterinsurgency strategy in general.
Okay, that's good enough for a clip. Hang on, let me get this clip saved. That was a lot. So someone sent in a super chat. Hang on. There we go. Clip is saved. America was founded on political violence. Well, yes, that's very true. America was founded on political violence. We're going to go back and listen to a bunch of this. But what they're saying is we don't like liberals because liberals are completely committed to this idea of non-violence. So that is actually one of the complaints that they have with liberalism is they are telling people, listen, man, liberals too committed to this idea of political nonviolence. That's just not going to work for us because as he just said in this clip, and we'll listen to it again so you guys can hear it again, what he said is, guys, we are very literally getting to a place where Trump might be arresting us all just to round us up, even if we haven't done anything wrong, as preventative enforcement or whatever. And I'm just kind of like, please, can that actually happen? Can we just start arresting all you assholes? Can we just start doing that? I mean, I don't really see any reason why we can't. If only Trump would find his balls. But let's listen again.
Kirk as a virtue, as a paragon of classical.
So he's saying these stupid liberals were celebrating Charlie Kirk as something to be admired.
Enlightenment liberalism, that he is someone who stood for free speech, free inquiry, civil debate. I think Ezra Klein, the midwit vlogger and columnist for the New York Times, might have used those terms. We also saw just the completely unctuous Gavin Newsom praising Charlie Kirk. And, this is, again, we shouldn't be surprised about this. And also AOC, I think, who has turned out to maybe predictably be a real enemy of the working class in a lot of ways, maybe not all, but in some significant ways. Also gave us the pablum that political violence is un-American, and it's just like you have to be delusional, a racist, or a clueless liberal to think political violence is un-American. It is violence, as then Stokely Carmichael's, I think it was.
Hang on, Mr. Gurr. Thank you. Do they view liberals and other leftists as useful idiots? No, they don't want anything to do. This is a great question. I'm not saying this to you directly. But this is one of the reasons why it's really dumb, quite frankly, to believe that communists are the same as liberals. And it's also really dumb when conservatives say, no, it's just like they're using the Democrats and the communists as useful, the Democrats and the liberals as useful idiots. No, they're not. Veli is surrounded. Okay, I'll get him up in a second. They're really not. I cannot emphasize to you enough. Communists hate liberals. They're not using them as useful idiots. They don't believe that liberals have anything in common with them. They do not believe that liberals are implementing their ideas. They do not believe that Democrats are implementing their ideas. They hate these people. They hate them more than they hate conservatives. So saying that they're using liberals as useful idiots would be roughly the same thing as saying communists are using conservatives as useful idiots. That sounds kind of stupid, right? Communists are using conservatives as useful idiots. That sounds dumb. Well, it's exactly the same as it's exactly as dumb when you put liberals in that place, because they actually hate liberals more than they hate conservatives. Is Veli in the middle of that mob? Oh, great. Veli's causing trouble already. Well, I'll get him up so we can see. Hopefully his stream is back.
Was it Stokely Carmichael or H. Rep. Brown said is as American as cherry pie? This country was completely founded on political violence, and we shouldn't need to repeat that. But I think something that's very important is liberals are completely beholden to this idea of nonviolence. And again, this is an extraordinarily
There's
dangerous
Valley.
moment, unlike
Oh,
anything
that's not Valley. Wait, no, that is Valley.
any of us have ever seen
There's Tommy.
before in this country, and I'll also get into that as well. And we need to be very careful. I think we can use kind of like irony and joking to our advantage, which was what I was trying to do, because that's what the right loves to say. Hey, can't you take a joke? But we have to be also really cautious about how extreme the situation is, and I think we could really see not before too long the possibility of preventative detention, right, where you start to see leftist organizers such as myself and yourselves get rounded up for no reason whatsoever. What we've seen.
Actually, this is a great question. I want to take it in the chat. Do the communists believe all societies are founded on violence, or are they just referencing America? Great question. They believe that all countries that are founded on capitalism, which is basically all countries at this point, they believe that capitalism itself is inherently violent, and the oppressive nature of capitalism is enacting violence on everyone within the capitalist system. So effectively, they do believe that every country with borders are going to be the key. If you believe in borders, then they believe you are literally enacting violence, because capitalism created borders, capitalism being private property ownership. What do you need to have private property? You need a border around the private property, whether that be your country, your state, your city, your house. All of these things require borders. Anything that has a border is considered to be capitalist and inherently violent. So that's kind of what they think. It's not just America. So for example, the reason that the left supports Palestine over Israel is exactly the same reason the left doesn't like America, because they believe Israel are the settler colonists who stole the land from the indigenous Palestinians and privatized it under the oppressive force of capitalism. That's why they don't like Israel. It has nothing to do with being Jewish. It has nothing to do with the Palestinians being Muslim. It has to do with Israel being the settler colonists who stole the land from the indigenous people. And they believe the United States did exactly the same thing. And they hate the United States and they hate Israel for exactly the same reason. Okay. So, and that's because they believe in the oppressive nature of capitalism. I will send Veli a tip later when I get a chance. I promise. I sent him $100 last night. So if anyone's saying I'm not paying Veli, I am. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I will send him a tip later. Okay. Relax.
In Chicago, and in fact for the last 6 months, it's people keep asking me my take on it. I'm like, it's very simple. This is the Iraq war brought home. This is the same tactics that were used to try to quash the resistance in Iraq after the occupation. After the invasion of occupation in 2003. Of course, it's not anywhere as deadly as what we've seen in Iraq. There are the torture mills and death squads where, hundreds of bodies are showing up every week, but immigrants are being tortured en masse.
Hang on. This is a great question from Lauren that goes along with the question we just answered. In communist view, is the revolution not complete until the whole world is communist? Exactly. The reason they believe that real communism has never been tried is because communism has not been tried on a global scale. So they believe that communist countries, this is why it's not a good idea to say, why don't they just move to Venezuela? Why don't they just move to Cuba? They don't want to do that. They don't want to exist in a communist country that is within a capitalist system, because they believe the communist country will always fail when it is surrounded by capitalist countries, right? So what they want to do instead is do communism in the United States, because communism in the United States will be the first domino to fall in their mission to enact communism globally. They believe that real communism will only ever be tried if it is done in a global way. They don't believe in borders, so there would be no more countries because there would be no more borders. But that's a good question. Thank you for that. Over on Rumble, the Jerk Store. Hang on. Thanks for your candor, Karlyn. Keep supplying the research team with good info. I'm doing my best. Thank you.
In places like Alligator, Alcatraz. But the tactics, the militarization, the use of weaponry, repelling from helicopters, the deliberate idea of terrorizing people, this was very much the Iraq War, and it's also just counterinsurgency strategy in general. And so this is the Iraq War brought home. So this is a very dangerous moment, and people need to do real.
Am I a school teacher? No, I'm a former corporate trainer, so I do know how to teach, but I've taught college classes too. But no, you are in an open air classroom. This is a classroom where we're studying the real radical revolutionary far left. I am the teacher in the classroom. You are the students in the classroom. I have no experience as a professional teacher other than teaching some college classes a couple times, but I do a pretty good job, I think. So welcome.
Risk assessments, and one of the things I've been saying is like, look, when it comes to myself, I don't have any kids. There's no, everything I do is freelance. I do food tours, as James knows. If you're ever in New York City, look me up. As well as journalism. So my housing is completely safe. So I have a very low risk profile. So I'm also not worried about if they try and quote unquote come after me, because it would be very hard for them to hurt me in any way other than just, they can randomly harass me. But even then, that's not so easy living in New York City. So in any case, the thing about we have to remember about political violence is that everyone in this society benefits from it enormous, or I should say everyone benefits from it. Everyone.
Hang on, this is a good question. How they define violence, and why is it okay for them to use violence but not capitalists? Okay. We're going to get a little esoteric in this. They believe that capitalism as a system is inherently violent. So it's not the individuals within capitalism who are violent. It is the system of capitalism that is violence. And so anyone that is upholding and supporting the system of capitalism in this case is both a cultural and an economic model. It's not just about the factories. It's also about the nuclear family. It's about gender. It's about cultural norms that uphold our society. They believe that anyone who is participating in the capitalist system is upholding a system that is inherently and perpetually enacting violence on everyone. So when they say violence, this is a great question. They don't just mean being punched in the face. They don't just mean physical violence. They mean the violence of the oppressive capitalist system in which some people have more things than other people. That some people having more things than other people creates a hierarchy. All hierarchy creates oppression. All oppression is inherently violent. We will only achieve a non-violent society when we get rid of all of the hierarchies and we make everything level. And that is what equity means. Equity means no more hierarchies. Equity means no more oppression because you're getting rid of the hierarchies and everyone has access to all the resources. That's communism. That's where they take away our ability to own private property. Okay? Good question, though.
A little, maybe very little, but to some degree or another, we all benefit from political violence. So there's this kind of like liberal fetish for nonviolence, and I think it's kind of
liberal fetish for nonviolence.
The idea of like Puritans who are living in a brothel, like they proclaim their chastity and purity because it's very.
In a communist revolution, troublemakers on both sides are neutralized. Yep, that's pretty accurate. That is pretty accurate indeed. Thank you.
Very performative.
Hang on, we just got a Rumble rant as well. Ineffectual insurrection. Thank you for being a great mod. What's this guy's name, Dr. K? Karlyn, thank you for teaching us this awesome stuff. Much appreciated. I don't know this guy's name specifically, but he's a member of the Denver Communists. Ooh, look, Belly's got those ICE officers up on the roof.
To appear like they are not the perpetrators when this is the most violent society in the world, and in some ways we rival Nazi Germany. And if that seems hyperbole, think of the fact that there was just a study that came out, I believe in the Lancet, that said since 1970, US financial sanctions have killed 35 million people. Now that is on the scale of the Nazis. It's a longer time frame, maybe about 4 times as long as the Nazis were in power. But that is extraordinary political violence, right? The genocide of Gaza is just phenomenal political violence, or the whole Zio-fascist regime that needs to be burned to the ground. You know, look at how many countries they've attacked. I think it's 8 in the last even just month or something. The ICE Gestapo is political, extreme political violence, right? So I think it's very important to push back. And the reason that liberals fetishize nonviolence is because.
So I don't recall him saying he lives in New York City, but you may be right. Remember, the Denver communists are a member of something called the Firebrand Collective. And so what we're watching right now, actually, this is a good point. I should explain this. What we're watching right now, this is a recording of a meeting that they had. So we're actually seeing a recording of their private meeting. The Denver communists post this stuff on YouTube where they have basically how Denver communist meetings work is every meeting they have 2 people present on a topic and they record the presentation. They don't record the discussion, although sometimes we sneak in and record it for them. But what happens is, so they record their presentations and then they put the presentation on YouTube later. So we are very literally watching what happened in one of their private meetings. The reason, okay, people are confirming he said he was from New York. Okay. The reason that this guy might be from New York, but he's showing up on the Denver Communist YouTube channel is the Denver Communists are part of something called the Firebrand Collective, where the Firebrand Collective is a loosely affiliated groups of several communist organizations around the country, to include the Denver Communists, the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists, the Boston Revolutionary Socialists, and the New York City Revolutionary Socialists. So the New York City Revolutionary Socialists are involved directly in this Firebrand Collective. And so they have group meetings and they work together and they bring in different speakers from the Firebrand Collective from all over the country. So does that make sense? Yes. They are very into networking and into strategic relationships, not only nationally, but also internationally.
Is they have this really just puerile, childish fantasy of conflict free pathways to power, you know. And if anyone has been, I think some of you went out to the No Kings March in June, and you know, you were kind of I believe you were tabling there and trying to counter the message. I mean, that thing, I went to the one in Portland and it was just utterly pathetic, you know, thousands of lib turds, as I call them, waving American flags and having signs about
oh my god, oh, I love this guy. Oh, this guy rules. This guy just called liberals lib turds. He said, I went to a No King's Day protest and it was just all these lib turds waving American flags. Oh my God. I have to clip this. I have to get a clip of this. I have to. That was the best. We love getting clips of communist shit talking liberals because then people will believe us when we say that it actually does happen. Hang on, let me get a clip. Lib turds. Wow. He's even more severe about it than the conservatives.
puerile, childish fantasy of conflict free pathways to power, you know. And
hang on, I need to go back a little bit.
I think it's 8 in the last even just month or something. The ICE Gestapo is political, extreme political violence, right? So I think it's very important to push back. And the reason that liberals fetishize nonviolence is because they have this really just puerile, childish fantasy of conflict free pathways to power, you know. And if anyone has been, I think some of you went out to the No Kings March in June. And you were kind of, I believe you were tabling there and trying to counter the message. I mean, that thing, I went to the one in Portland, and it was just utterly pathetic. Thousands of lib turds, as I call them, waving American flags and having signs about the Constitution. But these are the people who there were literally people out there with signs like that said, if Kamala Harris was in power, I would be at brunch or I would be at the beach. These are people who think that everything that came before Trump was perfectly fine, and that we can find some sort of agreement with the right. Biden was just like when he came during his inauguration, he said, he's going to reach across the aisle and and find agreements. How do you find agreements with fascists? How do you find agreements with people who want to exterminate you? And this is central to who Charlie Kirk was, right? He was not a free speech advocate. He was not someone out there looking for an honest debate in the marketplace of ideas. He was basically one of the most successful far-right extremists. One of the articles I said he was a digital Klansman, and I'll explain that. In terms of using a strategy of weaponizing free speech as a cover to organize political violence. Now, what I cover a lot of different subjects. One of them is far-right extremism. There are people out there who know a lot more about the far right, but because I cover it somewhat, I know who to look for, who to read. And so, you can find this stuff. I think a lot of this starts with Gamergate, which is the really misogynistic, basically force that grew out over a decade ago, targeting women. It started with one particular woman in the video game industry, but what it showed is that there is this seething cesspool of just misogyny, misandry, all these men, white men, but not just white men. It's really something that unites a lot of men, brown, Asian, black men. And they were basically harassing these women, but really horrific ways, sending them death threats, going after them.
Okay. That's enough. I just needed to get that clip. That's why I wasn't talking. We need to go back and listen to that again. What a clip. I thought he was just going to complain about how much he hates liberals. And then he goes into this whole thing of Charlie Kirk is literally responsible for political violence. What a fucking clip. Guys, this is why we listen to the far left, because when you listen to the far left, you may have to sit through some boring stuff. But when they say the golden nugget, you're like, holy shit, I cannot believe that just came out of that guy's mouth. And then we clip it, and then we put it on the internet, and then we make them famous, and then we make their lives more difficult. Do you guys see how all this works? Okay. We've got a couple super chats I want to acknowledge. We've got DR3GH over on Rumble. Communists are fascists with global ambitions. They're not fascists. Fascism is a completely different thing. All within the state, nothing outside of the state. Benito Mussolini. Okay, thank you for that. I do not agree that communists are fascists. Fascists did not want to abolish private property. Communists do. It is fundamentally different, but I appreciate the money. And then we've got a nice big super chat from William. Thank you, William. I really appreciate it. We hear little from the far left on civilian disarmament, unlike the constant liberal drumbeat. Is this because, like Lenin on free speech, they need gun rights themselves now and only plan to disarm American society after the revolution? That is a great question, William. I almost never hear the far left talking about guns. Disarmament, thank you, BK, for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. The guns are almost entirely a liberal Democrat issue. I cannot remember the last time I heard socialists and communists talking about disarmament. They talk about how I have heard them talk about how they need to arm themselves, but even after the revolution, I've never heard them talk about disarmament. They don't write books about it. They don't do presentations about it. So I think you're right. It is really more of like a Democrat issue than it is a communist or socialist issue. Let's listen to some of that again.
Would be at the beach. These are people who think that everything that came before Trump was perfectly fine, and that we can find some sort of agreement with the right. Biden was just like when he came during his inauguration, he said, he's going to reach across the aisle and and find agreements. How do you find agreements with fascists? How do you find agreements with people who want to exterminate you? And this is central to who Charlie Kirk was, right? He was not a free speech advocate. He was not someone out there looking for an honest debate in the marketplace of ideas.
Hang on. I want to be very clear about my perspective again. I don't give a flying fuck about Plato or Socrates. What I do is I study the real radical revolutionary far left in the world right now. I study what they say right now. I study what they think right now. I study what they talk about, what their strategy is, how they're organizing. There are a great many people who can speak to Plato and Socrates. I am not one of them because I don't give a flying fuck. If the real communists in the United States are not saying it right now, then it is not relevant to my methodology. But I appreciate the question. But I want to be very clear about what I do, and it is not studying anything from the past. I study what's going on, like literally right now.
He was basically one of the most successful far-right extremists. One of the articles I said he was a digital Klansman, and I'll explain that.
Charlie Kirk is a digital Klansman.
In terms of using a strategy of weaponizing free speech as a cover to organize political violence. Now, what I cover a lot of different subjects. One of them is far-right extremism. There are people out there who know a lot more about the far right, but because I cover it somewhat, I know who to look for, who to read. And so, you can find this stuff. I think a lot of this starts with Gamergate, which is the really misogynistic, basically force that grew out over a decade ago, targeting women. It started with one particular woman in the video game industry, but what it showed is that there is this seething cesspool of just misogyny, misandry, all these men, white men, but not just white men. It's really something that unites a lot of men, brown, Asian, black men. And they were basically harassing these women,
Appreciate
but
it.
really horrific ways, sending them death threats, going after their family. And, it's not just one or two, it'd be thousands of death threats, flooding their emails, flooding their phones. And so there was another thing that existed a little earlier that we should also consider as basically as a precursor to Charlie Kirk, and that was James O'Keefe and Project Veritas, where he did that hit job on Acorn in, I think, like 2000.
Oh no, James O'Keefe and Project Veritas mentioned. Oh no.
2008, 2009, and
for anyone who's new, I will never work with James O'Keefe because I know a lot of former Project Veritas people. I was actually working with a bunch of Project Veritas people right when Project Veritas kind of started imploding. I have a lot of friends that were completely fucked over by James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe is a massive narcissist. Like he was the one. James O'Keefe was the problem at Project Veritas. I wrote up a thing about it at the time. You can find it on my Substack. I've done many videos about this. But again, I knew many people who worked at Project Veritas, like many people. I'm still friends with a lot of them today. And I will not work with James O'Keefe. I do not trust him as far as I can throw him because I've heard about all the shit that went on behind the scenes that most of you guys don't know about. I remember now this presenter is Arun Gupta. Thank you, average person. Appreciate it. Good sleuthing. But that's why I think it's funny that he's bringing up James O'Keefe, because I'm like, if you only knew what a con artist James O'Keefe is, man.
Basic deceptively edited videos.
Yeah, Sally knows.
To make
Sally,
it
you know,
look like
you know
that Acorn.
I know you know. I know you know what's up. I know you know. Charles, thank you. I'm a South African, and this deranged guy would hate to talk with me and my knowledge at 67 years old. Well, that might be Charles. I do appreciate the super chat.
Staffers were like conspiring to help pimps and basically steal government money, and this was all false. But this was something that was really widely misreported, and the Democrats, being the chicken shit cowards that they are, joined this effort to completely defund Acorn, which did a lot of like pretty good organizing. It tended to be clientelism, but they were doing important work in a lot of low income communities. And so the first place we start to see this come together is in Portland. And I covered a lot of the extreme right in Portland. That was really the testing ground for January 6th. And that's a whole other story. I'll just say Portland had these specific factors. One, this legacy of neo-Nazism, extreme white supremacism.
Oh my God.
As well as anarchist anti-fascist movements that developed in the 1980s to counter this, and a cowardly liberal establishment. So the Portland police, on one of their senior officers, was actually an outright neo-Nazi. His name was Mark Kruger. You can Google him up. He retired during the summer of George Floyd, with like a pension, I think, of like $150,000 a year. He was a captain, which is a pretty high level in the police. And he had been caught about 15 years earlier making what's called an honors bomb in a Portland park, where he was nailing plaques of fallen SS soldiers to trees in the park. The guy was a literal, not.
Is this true? I didn't know this. James O'Keefe is supported by a Jewish billionaire, Robert Shillman, who was the one who dropped his support for Turning Point USA because he was pissed off about the Israel attacks Charlie was doing. Listen, I don't know if this is true. I'm going to treat this as unconfirmed because I don't have direct knowledge of this. But if that's true, that does not surprise me at all. Not one little teeny tiny little bit.
And there's a lot more if you Google Mark Kruger.
We'll be doing
but in any case,
guys, we're gonna get through the rest of this video. We have about 15 minutes left of this video, and then I promise we're gonna do this video. We're gonna take a break, and then I will do riot coverage all night long. Okay, but we're not gonna do Tommy right now because we're doing Socialism Saturday. But I promise you, as soon as we are done this, and we're doing what we're doing right now is we're eating our vegetables. And I'm trying to make it fun for people to eat their vegetables, but you need to learn about communism and socialism because we're seeing the end result of it right now in Portland. But I promise we will do protest coverage after this. But I want to get through this video first. But it's almost over, so relax. Tommy brought his kids. Tommy, the hero we need, raising the next generation of roughhousers.
Okay, so this is the situation.
And rabble-rousers.
Because part of the thing that was going on in 2017, it was always why Portland. Right? Why did Portland become the proving ground? Because the Proud Boys, Patriot Prayer, all these Rise Above movement, Adam Waffen, they were trying to take their fight club to various cities, but it was only really in Portland where they had success because the Portland police colluded, they cooperated, or they overlooked the far right violence. And that's where they really gathered strength. Their initial free speech rallies, right? This is what leads to Charlie Kirk, would only attract maybe a dozen or so of these fascist clowns and thugs, and a lot of them are low-level criminals, right? We have to remember that historically brown shirts recruit from a lot of criminal elements, and especially criminal anti-working class, kind of lumpen who are anti-working class, who are used by the extreme right. But within a couple of years, those couple of dozen grew up to about like 500 people. And what they were doing was trying to create viral moments of video violence. And so where they would be fighting anti-fascists, they would record it, and they were explicit about this. And Trump has actually adopted the same exact strategy during the summer of George Floyd. And again, now this is the same exact strategy, except on.
This is so wrong. It's so funny for me to hear this guy say, I study the far right and let me tell you what they're doing. It's like everything he's saying is wrong. Hey, boss bully boy, Gamergate was their Vietnam. Rageaholic, not wrong. Yeah, bro, in some ways. Thanks, boss bully boy. Appreciate it.
On steroids, that, you know, where you have military units rappelling from helicopters onto working class apartment building in the south side of Chicago, the historically black section of Chicago. This is viral violence. Now, there's this character in Portland who what he did was a refinement on this. Instead of like viral, actual real world violence, which takes a lot of effort, right? You have to organize people, you have to rally, you have to hope that anti-fascists show up and that you fight them and you can capture these moments of violence that make your side look good and put them up on the web. He moved to crowdsource violence.
What?
So what Andy now, and from the beginning, what this guy would do, it was in the mold of James O'Keefe.
Oh, this is
He
Andy.
would deceptively edit videos or selectively quote people to distort what they said, completely take things wildly out of context, and basically create video lies often. Like in one situation, he edited a video to claim that, wild, like, Portland anarchists, and particularly black and brown ones, attacked an elderly couple in their car. What he edited out of that video was that car drove into the protesters who were going through a crosswalk where they had the walk sign. So in fact, that poor elderly white driver could have been charged with attempted vehicular manslaughter for potentially trying to kill people.
Yeah, he's slamming
He
Andy
was
now.
the
He is.
perpetrator,
Yep,
and Andy
he
now
is.
made him the victim. And so what would happen, like Andy now would name particular people, and those people would be flooded with death threats. And so this goes back to the Gamergate, right? Because
There will be an eventuality in which I get mentioned in one of the Denver Communist meetings, and I'm just waiting for that, because they're good and pissed off at me now because I got their Texas State faculty member fired. He got a court to overturn that, but like I got their Texas State faculty member fired, and I would bet all the money in my bank account that eventually there will be, maybe it's not this one, but it's going to happen at some point. They're going to talk about me at one of their meetings. I bet you money.
Have this cesspool of 4chan, of Reddit, this type of dark web where these names would circulate. And then people would use, like, they would amass their phone number, burn a phone, and there are people who would go into hiding.
Yeah, they're
They'd
trying to
just be
ignore me right now.
absolutely
Maybe you're right.
bombarded with death threats. The places they work would be bombarded with death threats. It would
Andy's
spill
live.
over into the real world. And this is where now Charlie Kirk comes in. With his professor watch list, they were doing this to hundreds of academics. And I've collected these accounts after his killing of people, of these academics who are obviously very even-keeled, smart people. He would attack leftists, and especially people of color, and especially black academics, right? And I think it's important to understand, obviously fascists have a lot of particular targets, right? The Nazis had all sorts of targets, but it was Jews who were central in terms of the Nazi target. I would argue that we have to understand that the rotten heart of MAGA is anti-black. Obviously, they want to basically exterminate trans people. They want to ethnically cleanse immigrants. But there is a core anti-blackness at the heart of MAGA, because the black experience is so central to the social, cultural, political makeup of the United States, and the Black liberation struggle is so central to what we are fighting for and need to be fighting for. So what we see is this core anti-Blackness, right? Look at this. Look at who is being precisely attacked. Now, if Trump, we know it's BS. He doesn't care about crime, but if he did, he would be going after red states. That's where you see the highest crimes, the worst crimes, the highest murder rates in places like Texas and Mississippi and Alabama, and on and on and on.
Hang on, Rodney's got a question. I have a question. Do you have this every Saturday? I found you when you were undercover. Yes, Rodney, we do Socialism Saturday every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I also stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, although we cover different things during the week. Sometimes we cover the far left. Sometimes we cover breaking news. Sometimes we just do fun content. We do cover a lot of leftist content during the week as well, though. But Socialism Saturday is every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and I appreciate you dropping by. Guys, please make sure you mount the like button for me if you would be so kind. We got about 10 minutes left of this video, and then we will be doing we're going to switch over to a different stream. We're going to do protest coverage, but we do have a little bit more to do tonight.
These are violent, depraved cultures in a lot of ways, but instead, he's attacking Black cities. Now, there's some exceptions to this. Los Angeles, of course, it's a huge immigrant population. Portland, it's actually has the least percentage of Black people of any major city.
Hang on. Donald says, people are comparing ICE to the Black and Tans from troubled times in Ireland. Yeah, well, they do a lot of silly things, don't they, Donald? I appreciate the super chat.
The country, but it's the anti-fascists that are the target. But when you see where else he's targeting, Chicago, DC, talked about sending his goons into Baltimore, Memphis. These are Black cities. It is an attack on Blackness itself, and that's why I called Charlie Kirk a digital Klansman, is because so much of what his core agenda was an attack on Blackness, right? That they are basically completely trying to overturn the entire civil rights movement, the entire 20th century of the achievements of the Black liberation struggle, right? His attacks on Black women is that they don't have the brain processing power. Black pilots are
not just Black women,
just on and on. Like in the Professor Watch list, 5 of the 7 academics targeted at Harvard were African Americans, so 70%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Steve, thank you for the super chat. Would be cool to see your husband make an appearance on one of your streams, maybe a small word or two. My husband has actually been on stream before. He came in. So my husband is from Ukraine. And after the Russian-Ukraine war popped off, he did come on stream. So if you want to go back, you can actually see my husband in action. But I will tell you, my husband doesn't really like being on the internet. He's not really a public person. He doesn't really do social media and all that stuff, and he just doesn't like it. And so I don't know. Maybe someday we will have a Victor return to the stream. But right now, he is sitting downstairs, relaxing and drinking beer, and probably watching something way more fun than socialism. So I appreciate my husband. He's the best guy in the world. And if he ever wants to come on stream, of course, he's always welcome. But he is the reason that I get to do this stuff. So we respect my husband on this channel, obviously. Yeah, based Mr. Borysenko. Yep. Well, I can't listen. I'm not going to torture my husband by making him get on the internet right now. Okay, let's just watch socialism. Maybe someday, okay? Maybe someday.
% of that list. Meanwhile, the number of tenured Black faculty at Harvard was 7%. So they are specifically trying to target Blackness. And so, as I was saying a couple minutes ago, I was collecting these accounts of all these people, professors who had been targeted.
Yeah, let the man
and they were
rest.
very defiant,
Exactly.
saying, they're not going to shut up or be scared, but he made their lives absolutely.
How on a scale of 1 to 10, how cute is Victor? Well, okay, so first of all, Victor and I have been together for 14 years. So our wedding anniversary is coming up in a month. So we will be married 14 years on November 5th. And I got to tell you, so his looks have changed in 14 years. My looks have changed as well. But when I first met my husband was my mover. For people who don't know, fun fact, my husband was my mover. I was moving from Vermont to New Hampshire. and I hired a moving company to move me, and they showed up an hour late, and I was really pissed off about it. And my husband rolled out of the moving truck, and he was still drunk from the night before, and you could smell that he was still drunk from the night before. But he was so handsome, and he spoke with such an amazing Russian accent that I was completely fucking befuddled, and I was like, holy shit. And I even posted on my Facebook page, like, as we were going from Vermont to New Hampshire, I said, I need to start dating Russian men. He's Ukrainian, but he spoke Russian, so I didn't know he wasn't Russian at the time. And so I was like, my husband used to be very in shape, very muscular, very hot, and he's still adorable today. And I love the way he looks. I think my husband is very handsome, but he looks different today than he did back then. But yeah, I married a very hot Slavic man with a great Russian accent. I am absolutely 29. What are you talking about? And you all can say, and yes, and the important part, he has a giant uncle. Yeah, it's a true story. Yeah, this is the most important thing. True story, TMI. Okay, let's return to the video. You guys now know way more than you need to about my husband, all right?
Absolutely miserable because it spills over into the real world, right? It's not just you. People in your department now have to deal with these flood of death threats and very vicious, very demeaning, racist,
Actually,
sexist
unironically,
language.
yeah.
They're trying to get you fired from your job. They're going after the administration. The administration does not have your back. Since again they are tools of the ruling class, and at best they're just liberal chicken shits who think the way to fight fascism is you capitulate to fascism at every single stage. This would spill over into the real world where people were being stalked. These professors were being stalked. People were showing up at their homes. That sometimes these professors would have to be given security, which of course is a scary thing, right? Because if you're having to be accompanied to your car by an armed officer, that makes real that threat of violence. And of course, we need to remember that Charlie Kirk celebrated people like Kyle Rittenhouse, the little shit child soldier who traveled to Kenosha and killed two men.
Oh my
white men
God!
with the Black Lives Matter movement. Or Charlie Kirk bragged about how he organized 80 buses of white nationalist insurrectionists for January 6th. Everything he did was based on political violence. And it was interesting, right after his assassination, I was watching TikTok, which still, capital turns everything to shit. Everything on the internet becomes shit. But for now, it is still by far and away the best social media. And one of the videos
TikTok
I saw
is the
was a
best
young
social
woman
media.
who, it was right after the assassination, she posted it. And it was a video from before his assassination. And she was a student, and I think I forget what the specific college was. It's UVA is the initials, Utah Valley, I think, or Utah Valley University, UVU. In any case, she mentioned it just like, yeah, you see that poster down there, which Charlie Kirk is going to be sitting, that banner that Charlie Kirk is going to be sitting in front of, that's my face on that banner. Not sure how I feel about it. So what he would do is go to these campuses, and it's not about free speech. He's putting crosshairs on people, right? The student, so that they just become objects of hate and violence and aggression to chase them out of the public sphere. And so, I have zero sympathy. I have zero sympathy for Charlie Kirk, for liberals who want to be like, oh, we can't support political violence. It's just like these people are the absolute scum of the earth. And if I have any regrets, it's that Charlie Kirk didn't suffer more. He got it too easy. So I want to leave plenty of time for discussion. I think.
I'm sorry, what? If I have any regrets, it's that Charlie Kirk didn't suffer more. Excuse me, communist, please repeat that.
I have zero sympathy for Charlie Kirk, for liberals who want to be like, oh, we can't support political violence. You know, it's just like these people are the absolute scum of the earth. And if I have any regrets, it's that Charlie Kirk didn't suffer more. You know, he got it too easy. So I want to leave plenty of time for discussion. You know,
I'm going to be honest. I was not expecting them to say something like that in this video. I thought that they might be a little bit more conciliatory than that. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised. This is why we watch the Denver Communists, guys. The Denver Communists and the Firebrand Collective say the quiet part out loud all the time. Yes, Reagan. In fact, Reagan, can you just go make a clip of my stream reacting to this? Can you actually just rewind the stream right now and and like do a screen capture of it, like this, like my stream, and like get my reaction to it? And can we just make a clip of that like right now, just this last little bit? That would be really helpful, Reagan. I would appreciate if you could do that for me. I would appreciate. I'll do it right after the stream, but I've also got to do the protest coverage tonight. Yeah, we should get that out like right the fuck now, if we can. Wow. Hang on, we did have a very important question though before we continue. The real question is, was Karlyn a heavy metal fan when her husband found her? Okay, I'm actually 44. Okay, I met my husband. When I was 29. All right, whatever. So I think heavy metal chicks who grew up are some of the most conservative people today. I got into heavy metal when I almost married a heavy metal musician when I was right out of college. So yeah, I had an ill-considered relationship with a musician that lasted for several years. He was the drummer in a lot of hardcore rock bands. We toured around all over the place. Like I went to a lot of shows, stuff like that. And so I almost married a heavy metal musician, and that's why I like heavy metal. That's it. That's the only reason. That's it. Okay, let's continue.
I think
thanks, Reagan.
We have to understand the bankruptcy of liberalism, and I'll share with James, my friend
Appreciate
Joe
it.
Lowndes, who he's the professor of political science, really sharp guy. He writes some of the best stuff out there. But he mainly writes on Facebook, right? The media landscape has just become such a shit show, which is why I write mainly on Substack. And you know, the left media response to the assassination of Kirk was pretty bad. There was an appalling piece in Jacobin by just this sweaty, mediocre professor. I think it's Ben. I don't want to say his name because I don't want to get it wrong. But where he was like basically praising Kirk as again like someone who engaged in like a civil debate. And it's just like kind of pathetic liberalism for an outlet that is supposed to allegedly be revolutionaries. But so I'll share this piece with James. It's just a short thing that Joe Lowndes wrote on Facebook, but I think he just really nails it how liberalism is politically bankrupt. It has no agenda anymore. It has nothing it supports materially in terms of policies, and it's completely ideologically bankrupt. So that's why you see them just completely fumbling about and ending up embracing fascists like Charlie Kirk. But the point I want to make is like, you know, this extraordinarily dangerous moment that we're in, right? This goes back to at least, I think we could say this starts in the Nixon era, where you see, first of all, you have the growth of the national security state after World War II, but with the Nixon, you start to get this project that tears down all the barriers, all the obstacles, all the guardrails to the ruthless application of power. And so by the time we get to Trump 2, there's nothing to stop him anymore, right? And so this is why we get, and it's very bizarre world we live in. I think every fascism is different. I've studied fascism a bit. I think there's a real problem with trying to act like, oh, it's only fascism if it looks like the 1930s variant. Trump's and MAGA fascism it's
MAGA fascism.
incompetent, it's shambolic, it's very performative. I call it World Wrestling Fascism, WWF, because it's very theatrical, right? Fascism has always had this theatrical element, but now it's very postmodern where the image comes first. So that the murder of the people in that boat off the coast of Venezuela, now it's happened multiple times, it was just for the clicks. That's what they did it for. And this whole Pentagon the meeting of the generals, I thought the response to it was pathetic. I was just like, I was saying to friends who were leftists, who were like, "Oh, this is wow, this is bad." I'm like, "Don't you get it? Over a decade after he came down the golden escalator, you still don't get it." They do shit for the sake of doing it because they can get away with it because of the spectacle of it. It was never about anything, and that's what it turned out to be, was a big nothing burger. And that's the way it should have been reported, that this is just another empty theatrical stunt. But everyone, I'm not saying everyone, but the entire media fell for it. Oh, this is unprecedented. Oh, this is a security risk. Oh, what is this meeting going to be about? It was so dumb. It was obvious that it was going to be a nothing. So I think there's a problem of paranoia and both underestimating
Ooh,
and
there's a crip
overestimating
in Portland. You see the
that
wheelchair?
we should not be completely
Crip.
paranoid.
Crip.
We shouldn't think they're all powerful. But like I said, I think we may be moving into a situation where preventative detention is a possibility, right? The panopticon is incredibly powerful. And I'm just going to end with a couple of points about security culture. One is to go dark as much as possible. Your phones are your enemy. If you're in, if you need to do anything with money, do it in cash. If you need to talk to people, do it in meetings. Everyone should be using Signal, but understand if there are more than 2 people in that Signal chat, consider it public. And even if there are 2 people, always put on a timer, at most 1 week, if not 1 day. And there's a button in a Signal itself that allows you to block screenshots, right? So that what it does is it raises the barrier. So it doesn't mean it's foolproof. But the point is, we need to go as dark as possible. Consider getting burner phones where you go pay for a phone in cash that isn't linked to you. And that.
Okay, so what you're hearing right now, for people who don't know, communists and socialists are hyper paranoid about security and surveillance, and this is part of the reason why it's so hard to track what they do. They do a lot of organizing in Signal, where you literally, like, they vet you multiple times to get into those groups. Like, you have to be vouched for and all this stuff. And so this is part of their paranoia about, like, other people finding out what they're doing, essentially.
And that's the only thing you ever use for protests, and even then you buy a Faraday bag to put the phone in, and only take it out if absolutely necessary, because we need to take this completely seriously, what they're going to try and do. And they made it clear, but it was obvious all along. Again, we don't need to wait for this, that they're going to try to use RICO against us, which is the law that was used to take down the mob. And so they can take down what's called any enterprise, which means basically any group of people meeting to do anything. So the more you go dark, that you completely leave no digital footprint, the harder it is to come after us. As one lawyer said to me, if there's no facts, they have no facts to spin. So anyway, I'll end with that, and I'll stick around for the conversation, and looking forward to it. And thank you for having me.
All right. So that is the end of that video, guys. Now, what you need to know about that is that would have occurred on a meeting of the Firebrand Collective, where afterwards they would have had a whole unrecorded conversation about what just happened, but they don't record the conversation, so we can't get that. But we did make it to the end of the video, which means you guys have survived Socialism Saturday. Congratulations, a 3-hour Socialism Saturday stream. We ate our vegetables. And now we're going to switch over to protest coverage. We're going to start a new stream. We're going to do that in a second. I do just want to remind people to please make sure you sign up for my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Subscribing is completely free, but if you want to support the work I'm doing, please sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. I am entirely funded by people just like you. I take no political money, so I will never show you a political narrative. If you are in a financial position to do so, please support my work over on Substack. You fund my ability to do these streams, to do undercover journalism, to do all the research I do into the far left. You guys make this possible, and I can't thank you enough. I also want to remind people that normally I don't stream on Sunday, although I might tomorrow, because of just protest coverage, but normally I don't, so we'll have to play it by ear. However, we will be switching over to a different stream. So I'm going to put the new YouTube link in the chat. If you guys want to go over and do protest coverage with me, I'm going to take about a 5-minute break before I start this stream. I'm going to go get the bathroom and all that stuff. You guys can go take a break, grab a snack, grab some drinks. We will be doing protest coverage all night. Rumble, I will be starting another stream on Rumble, but I can't give you the link to the stream until after I shut this stream down. So on Rumble, you'll just have to look at my channel. I will be live again in about 5 to 10 minutes, and we will do protest coverage all night long, okay? And I appreciate you guys hanging out for Socialism Saturday. Welcome to all the newcomers. Thank you guys for asking such amazing, awesome questions. I really do appreciate it. We have one final Rumble rant. And that says, thanks, Dr. K. It was very informative. Guys, we do Socialism Saturday every Saturday night at 6 p.m. We do movie night in my communities on Sunday at 8 p.m. So if you want to come watch a movie with us tomorrow in the Discord, make sure you sign up as a supporter, and you will get an email tomorrow about joining the supporter Discord, and we'll look forward to meeting new people and stuff like that. I'm going to shut this stream down now. I will see you guys in 5 to 10 minutes on the other stream, and we'll do protest coverage all night. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here? 3 months, May 17th. And what brought you here? That's difficult to answer. clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.